Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 Seahawks prediction show. I've already got Nathan laughing his butt off for some reason. I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. And we're doing something we've never done before. This is the wildest attempt at a prediction show I've ever done. I've had all sorts of people on this show over the years. Many of them have gone on to great things. The Danny Kellys, the Mina Kimes. Someone you're looking at on this screen may be the next great something. A lot of shaking of the head going on. But tonight, for the first time, we are having the entire Real Hawk Talk crew, everybody on and off screen, on the show. So I'll do some quick intros. It is going to be mayhem to manage this throughout. We'll try to have some free-flowing conversation. I will try to not be the person talking all the time because I talk too much anyway. But let's do some quick intros. We got Nathan Ernst at NathanE11. You know Nathan. How you doing, Nathan?
Good. So I had really quick. I was at the Storm game on Monday night, and I'm walking down the concourse or whatever with my daughters, and somebody is walking towards me and it's like, "Hey," and I look up and hi, but I didn't know this person at all. I don't think, and I think they may have recognized me from here, which feels dumb to say, but I mean it's happened before with you, but because then the person was like, I think they then realized that maybe they knew me, but we didn't know each other, and so they just said hi again. Anyways, the point of it is, if you're listening and you're that guy, hi, hit me up on Twitter or something so I know who you are,
yes.
Or maybe it's a mistaken identity. But yeah, yes. Sorry, I probably overdid my intro since we're going fast.
You know, it's all right. We'll be here for 6 or 7 hours, no problem.
Cool.
But
okay, cool.
that was great. I appreciate the intent there. And so that's Nathan Ernst. Trey Howell at Trayton Cole on Twitter. You might not all know Trey. Trey has been our intrepid production assistant for years. He's helped get the pod on to rip down from video to audio and post it and then up on the blog. Been a ton of help along the way. And Trey, good to have you on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's crazy. Years ago, I used to just watch this show all the time, just see Brian and Jeff and Nathan and Dana and Evan just shooting the shit. So it's fun to be here. Thanks for having me, Brian.
I was really hoping you were going to leave someone off. It was going to be so funny, but good job. You managed and appreciate all that Trey's done. So by the way, if you don't know this as well, 2 years ago, Trey took the crown for the most accurate season prediction. He not only predicted the record the Seahawks had, but he predicted that when they would go out into the playoffs when none of us thought. I think Evan was 2-13 that year, 2 and whatever it was. He had some horrid prediction. Jen Maz says Trey is American Maddie. Okay. Next, Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB. You know him. You may love him. I love him. Not everybody does. Let's be totally honest, but that's part of what I love about him. How are you doing, Evan?
I'm doing so well. Does Seahawks media love me? Does the Seahawks franchise love me?
You know what?
Pearson love me?
That's probably a longer conversation, and you might need a drink or two for that one. I think there's mixed feelings. I think primarily any negative feelings may come from moments when you have tweeted out intentionally incorrect information. That's a tough one for reporters. So anyway, word to the wise for anybody: if you want to get on the wrong side of either the Seahawks PR staff or media, tweet out incorrect information intentionally. All those folks that do the pictures of somebody talking and then a false quote that they think is hilarious. The media and the Seahawks don't find that funny. Just so you know. Next, Dana O'Gorman at Dana OG. I don't know how Dana's put up with us this long. We are so lucky to have her. How you doing, Dana?
I am good. And I would like to thank you for putting out to the whole world that I'm finally in, because you know how much crap I got from it took you long enough to get here, Dana. What was taking you so long?
I was excited.
I
got so excited when I said Dana was like, I'm in. I don't know what I have to ask you. What was the moment?
It was after the first series with the defense, and then again the second one. I was like, oh, That's what I wanted to see. And I finally got to see the coach on the sideline because, I have to watch on NFL Plus or whatever, and it's always the home team. So I never got to see our coaches, and I saw a little bit of emotion out of Mike McDonald. I was pretty excited. I'm in.
Love it. Next, you may not know this face. You know the name. You certainly know Cable Thanos back in the day. Josh Cashman. First time he ever came on the show, face reveal. I was in Hawaii, and I was like, oh my God, you're this blonde, young college kid. And then I met you in person and you're like 6'7" or whatever. Like, I'm like, geez, Louise, I thought these videos were coming out of like a troll in a basement somewhere. And you're like this angelic creature, but it's great to see you, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm glad that you thought I was like way uglier than I am, because that's like, I think that's a really good compliment to take. I'll take that for sure.
I think that's probably what most people expect on internet, content producers. I mean, I try to live up to that, but like I appreciate it. I love having you here,
Real
Josh.
quick here.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about Josh that we have to tell about on the pod one day. The first time I ever met Josh, he brought me up to Russell Wilson's offices in downtown Seattle. And let me tell you something. This man was busy doing something around the corner, like playing with something in the office. And, I see Russell's, I may get a DM about this later, but who cares? We'll spill it anyways. I see Russell's office, and there was some extra paraphernalia hanging around. And let me tell you, I asked to use the bathroom. Josh showed me where the bathroom was. And while he wasn't looking, I may have copped something from that office. I'm just letting you know.
You're making it sound like it's illegal paraphernalia. I think that's not what you intend, but you stole something from the office.
Potentially.
I got it. I want to make sure Josh is not getting implicated in the wrong way for that story, but
and now you've lost a friend forever, Evan.
Well, what you should know is that Evan is a little bit of a stalker of Josh. I mean, he absolutely browbeats Josh all the time, and so I think Evan is the most excited that Josh is here.
Evan will be so nice to me on Twitter or like in our chat, but then he'll be bullying. He constantly is just bullying me over text. So I was basically bullied into being here because of Evan. So
yeah, well, it's an effective mechanism, at least sometimes. So I'm glad you are effectively bullied by him. All right, last two, not the least two. Jeff Simmons, @real Jeff Simmons. Jeff, man, Canadian internet's going to be putting up to the test tonight with this many people streaming.
Yeah, people always say I don't talk enough in the 4-man show. That's why we started doing the Saturday show, Brian, me and you. So the 8-man show, I got no chance. But I'm glad you brought Mike McDonald and Cooper Kupp to our show tonight, because Josh and Trey look like Cooper Kupp and Mike McDonald. Do they not?
All right, I could see it. Yeah, I buy it. And that's a good point. So, I mean, we are 8 minutes in. We haven't even gotten through intros. To be clear, this is not how we're going to do every prediction. We will move through this, but I do want to make sure everyone gets a chance to be introduced and everyone's going to get a chance to speak. We'll do like hands up. We'll do private chat, all the things. I'll do my best to kind of keep everybody involved, but especially if you have a strong point of view, make sure I know about it. Those are the ones we want to hear about. Or if you do want to say something silly.
Here's one. If anyone calls me Canadian Maddie, I'm leaving.
All right, that's real Jeff Simmons. And then Derek Gebby @Derek, DERYCKG_. He throws everything at you. There's not an asterisk or, a backslash, but he's got everything else in that name. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. I want to call out YouTube user The Pit, who asked if I was the next Brian. And I just want to beat the allegations, okay? I just want to beat the allegations.
Oh my God! Yeah,
but I'm good. I'm good, Brian. I'm excited.
All right, that's fair game. My follically challenged state is fair game for sure. We're gonna take a super chat here. I appreciate the super chats. I will just tell you, given our timing tonight, it'll be hard for me to get to super chats. I'll do my best, but do not assume that we're ignoring you. We just have a lot to get to tonight. This is from Detail Oriented. One of our most generous folks for sure says, "Thanks for being here, crew. We're privileged. Blah, blah, blah. We are privileged to have your guys' insights and predictions for us Rabid 12s. They call themselves the LOB crew now, the folks that are in the channel. Legion of Bloggers, I think they call themselves. We love having you guys. 12-5 is Detail's prediction. Go Hawks. All right. So like we do on most years, I think it's important to take a second to revisit what happened last year. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, but I do need to share a few things with you. So first thing we're going to share for everybody is a clip of Evan Hill responding to Nathan Ernst, who the prediction was that the Seahawks were going to be as bad defending the run as they were the year before. And Nathan's going to be telling you that the chat was not so happy with how Evan had them ranked so poorly. Here's how Evan responded.
Bobby and Reed, but like, I mean, to their credit, like, I don't know.
Jaron Reed.
I know. I mean, so, on the one hand, no, sorry, keep going. Make that noise a little more.
Oh, they added a 35-year-old Jaron Reed retread. Oh, so exciting.
Okay.
That is the type of quality prediction conversation you can expect over the next God knows how long. But that's not all. It wasn't just Evan that had some great takes. Here's one from me. Sorry, I got to share the screen again. I got too excited. Here we go. All right. Here is me talking about a couple players that I thought were going to help the run defense.
I think that if Jamal Adams does play, I think Jamal Adams is a big difference in run defense and in tackling in that situation. Hell, I've so far looked wrong. Devin Bush looks like he can be a guy that helps. He looks faster and more athletic than the guys, definitely than Cody Barton, 100% more than Cody Barton last year. So I think.
Yep, I said it. I was getting excited about Devin Bush. So yeah, again, take these predictions very seriously. We obviously know what we're talking about. One last one here. This is one from last one from Evan about a player that he was a little surprised got cut and was happy that he was able to be brought back to the practice squad.
There's on the roster, like on the cut down piece that, you had your eye on, or that was, you were excited about or not.
Levi Bell was a name that I was kind of keeping an eye on. I was a little surprised to see that he made it back to Seattle's practice squad.
So yeah, my goal here was to really, eliminate any credibility prior to the show beginning, and hopefully I've done that.
Me and Jeff, on the other hand, we were 100% on everything, right? That's why you didn't have any clips of us.
I tried. It was 2.5 hours, the show last year. I tried listening on 1.5 speed. I could not find something that was like bad enough that I could include it. So I really just happened to start on that clip from Evan and went from there. So for people that are curious, Nathan and Jeff last year, and Derek, Nathan and Jeff predicted the exact same record with the exact same wins and losses every single week. So they were in complete synchronization. Derek also predicted a 10-7 record. They were the closest. No one on the crew predicted under the wins. So just to be clear, everybody was over on the wins last year. And then as far as who had the most prop bets that were correct, last year it was Real Jeff Simmons had 8 correct. Second place was Derek with 7, and I was third. So I'm just happy that Evan was in last, because Evan has miraculously been one of the leaders in the prop bets for years. And this restored a little bit of my confidence that, there's some logic in the world. Okay. Are you guys ready? I see some nods. All right. First thing that I want to talk about, we're going to go through week by week. And there's probably a bunch of ways to do this, but the first game of the season is against the Denver Broncos. And every single person on this crew predicted a win. So we're not going to spend a bunch of time here, but I do want to, by a show of hands, is there anybody that had a hard time that hesitated on predicting a win in week 1? Josh and Trey. Josh, tell us why.
The Bo Nix film looked looked pretty good. I could just picture him dicing up our secondary, but then I thought about who is now coaching the team, and then I put a W. But if we had Pete Carroll coaching, I might put an L. Like, that was literally the difference.
So real quick, Josh, you were really impressed by Bo Nix's throws against like fourth string cornerbacks in the preseason, is what you're telling me?
I mean, that's who we kind of roll out there most of the time. I don't know. I watch. I'm not like a film guy, but I did watch like the JT O'Sullivan All 22 thing, and he's going through it all, and it looks good. Like, it's hard to not think he at least doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, I think it's look after the Rams game. I was going to play some audio of that when we were talking about that game. I don't think any of us thought they were going to lose that game. In fact, I'll go back and check real quick. Yeah, no. Well, actually, Trey predicted a loss in that game. He was the only person last year. So Trey gets props. Trey, tell us this year, like, why it was you wavered on predicting a win.
That was the only reason, is because I was the only one who chose a loss. I didn't want to say I was the only one. I thought there might have been one other person with me. So I really wanted the opportunity of dunking on this chat again, because I didn't get a chance to dunk the first time. But I just think they're going to win. I don't think there's much doubt about it. I felt much more confident about predicting a loss last year about that possibility than this year. So
okay, so that would make the Seahawks 1-0. We go into week 2. Everybody has that predicted as a win against New England, 10 a.m. game, except for Derek. Derek Gebby hates the Seahawks, and he wants to tell you why. All right, Derek, you're up. Why the loss to the Patriots?
I think it's an early East Coast game. I just think it's going to be one of those games early in the season where, I don't know, Mike McDonald's defense maybe isn't the greatest. The communication is still working itself out. I think they could struggle a little bit on the road early in the season.
That would be a tough one. That would be a tough one to stomach.
Brian, that was the like actual answer. Well, that was the made up answer. The actual answer is I just wanted to predict a loss because I think everyone else said a win. So,
is that true? Was it really you're just trying to separate yourself?
A little bit, but I honestly do believe that they may struggle early in the season.
Okay.
With
all
the
right.
New defensive scheme and offense. All
right. Well, that makes the Seahawks 2-0 for everyone other than Derek's got him at 1-1 after 2 weeks. Going into week 3 would be the second home game against the Dolphins. And it's got this is a 105 start. So, normal game for the Seahawks. This is the first time so far we've got a lot of L's showing up on the prediction sheet. We've got an L for Derek. He's got a 2-game losing streak, a 1-2 start for Mike McDonald. Josh, Dana, Jeff, Nathan all have L's. The only people that have wins are myself, Evan, and Trey. Dana, tell us a little bit about why you ended up at a loss in this game.
I think that kind of to piggyback on what Derek said, it's going to be early in the season. I think we have to kind of see this team settle into the defensive role, and they have some serious speed on that Miami team. And so I just think that with the talent levels that they have, that they'll get it. I don't think it'll be like a blowout or anything. I just don't think Seattle will be able to get past them with the levels of talent that they have.
Evan, why do you have this as a win? Oh, sorry, Dana, finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, I think Tyreek Hill's going to run right past him. So.
And it's Dana's favorite coach. We should also mention that.
Hipster home brewer. Love him.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Mike McDaniel and Mike McDonald not only are a hard two pair of coaches to talk about regularly back to back without mixing them up, but have had 2 pretty memorable matchups so far. And so really curious to see how that, I mean, it's probably the first game where we'll get to see if Mike McDonald's going to be able to really bring his defensive excellence over to Seattle. Like the first 2 games, it's going to be hard to say if they actually cream Denver and New England. I don't know that anyone's going to be saying, oh yeah, this defense is elite. So this would be the time to do it. Evan, you're one of the 3 of us that have it as a win. Why are you going against the grain here?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a coming out game for the Ryan Grubb offense. This is an offense with a lot of star-studded players that we were hoping would take, I think, big steps last year. And I think this is going to be one of those shootout type games where it's like 38-31 or something. I think the defense will probably have a rough game, like Dana kind of alluded to with Tyreek and the speed they have. But at the same time, this is a defense, guys, that is much younger across the board. They've obviously removed some vets that were slowing down, and maybe there's an opportunity for them to suffocate Tua and some of that speed that they have at the receiver position. So there's no doubt, though, that the Dolphins have like studs across the offensive board. It's just I think this is going to be like an early Geno game that starts getting some MVP chatter for him.
Jeff, why is Evan wrong?
I don't think Evan's that wrong. I just think they're going to ultimately be on the other side of what he's talking about. Not only is the Dolphins one of the fastest teams in the league, they're really creative with how they scheme and how Mike McDaniel creates separation for his receivers. And what Dana said and Derek said, I'm totally on board. I think there's going to be some communication problems. And I think this is one of if you're playing Miami in November, December, where they struggle in colder conditions, I'd actually probably pick Seattle. But September against Miami early in the year in this scheme, I think that's a tough win.
You're going to be out here for the first game. Have you been to a home win yet?
I have, but not since I met any of you guys.
Oh, okay. we better break that streak, buddy.
Super Bowl year, I was at the Tampa game where they were down 21-0, and I was like, I cannot believe I flew in to watch Mike Tomlin go up 20, and then they came back. And I was at a game in 2010 where Leon Washington ran 2 kick returns back. That was pretty sweet.
That was a Chargers game, right? Was that Chargers game?
It was week 3.
Yeah. Leon Washington, that was fun. That was fun early on. All right, so we've got a mix there. Let's head on to the 4th game. In Detroit, Monday Night Football, September 30th. And Nathan, I'm curious. You're one of only 3 people to predict a win in that game. The Seahawks have won there the last 2 years. They've been 2 of the most entertaining games the Seahawks have played. Detroit is a Super Bowl favorite for some people. Tell us why you think the Seahawks are going to go in there and win that one. That's you, Nathan. Is this new, the unmuting thing?
He boomered himself and he muted himself again.
Hi, Nathan. We're all going to say hi.
Hey, what's up? What are we talking about? Seahawks?
We know you.
Yeah. No, I think this team is going to be really good. Am I here? Hello? Am I good?
Oh, no. Yes.
No.
Maybe a little delayed. Uh-oh. Nathan's got Canadian internet.
I think the team's very good, and I think they will beat the Lions.
Okay, Nathan, you may want to dial back in. Not that dialing actually happens, but we'll see if maybe that refreshes your connection. The other people that have a win in this game are dubious Derek, who's been got him off to a 1-2 start, but then has them going into Detroit and winning on Monday Night Football on the road. Explain yourself, man.
I think this is going to be kind of a theme of the season, is this team's going to be up and down. They got younger guys on the defense now. It's a new scheme on both sides of the ball. I think the O-line hopefully remains healthy, but it's never a guarantee. So I think there's going to be some struggles throughout the season. There's going to be some great moments, some great wins, but ultimately I think it's going to be an up and down year.
So the implication there is you think the team is capable of beating one of the best teams in football, but also capable of losing to one of the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Just quickly before we go on, show of hands. Does anybody feel like this team is capable of losing to the worst teams in the NFL? It's okay. We will only shame you a little bit.
I say yes because I haven't listened to the Patriots.
You, Derek. You're on record. Josh, say a little bit more.
Well, I had them losing to. I don't want to say yes, but I had them losing to the Broncos, and I think they're the worst team in the league, so I kind of have to say yes. But that's more of a Bo Nix thing.
You don't have them losing to the Broncos. You have a win.
Or I had them almost losing to the
almost
Broncos.
losing. Gotcha.
So they could.
Got it. Okay. All right. Like it's helpful clarification because you could think maybe the Broncos are better than people think, but you're basically saying, yeah, I think they're bad, but I still think that we might be worse.
Yeah.
Can I say something really quick?
Of course.
Yeah. So when I was looking at this game, I struggled a little bit because I know the Lions are going to be good. Like they're such a good team. They're so well put together. But in my head, and I want to know if any of you guys are struggling with this, I'm like, oh, it's Monday night and we always beat the Lions. Oh, wait, Pete was really good at Monday night. And yeah, we used to always beat the Lions. It's hard you can't take those priors. We were always good under the lights. We're always good when we're on national television because we don't know how that's going to translate. So I was like, well, forget it. We're going to lose.
I think that's really fair. And it's, I don't know if you heard, I asked McDonald about this because I went back and looked. The only other coach that's ever had a winning record in 10 a.m. games in Seahawks history is Chuck Knox, and it was 9-7. For the first 34 years of Seahawks history, 10 a.m. games were awful. 40% win rate. Under Pete Carroll, it was a 60% win rate. So Mike McDonald said he knew that number, which was encouraging to me. And he said that they were doing as many of the same things that Pete Carroll's crew had done. They're matching sleep schedules. They're trying to learn from it. So I'm encouraged by that, but you're right. That was something that was very unique to Pete Carroll. And we'll see. That's going to be one of the chances to see if they're going to get a 10 a.m. game in New England, and then they're going to have this Monday night game in prime time, two kind of Pete Carroll signature situations we'll see early on in the season. All right, so just to recap here, through 4 games, I have got them 3-1 with the one loss being in Detroit. Nathan has got them 3-1 with the one loss against Miami at home. Evan has got them 3-1 with the one loss against Detroit. So Evan and I are simpatico so far. Jeff has them at 2-2 with 2 straight losses to Miami and Detroit. Jeff kind of has them going chalk so far, like beating the teams they should beat, losing to the teams that from a general betting perspective they should lose to. Dana, same thing. First 2-0, then 0-2 to a 2-2 record after 4 games. Josh, also 2-2. Josh, Dana, and Jeff, they are exactly the same so far, which I feel like that's not what I thought it was, but it is what the spreadsheet says. Josh, Dana, and Jeff. Sorry, that's what it is. Derek has them at 2-2, but he has the 2 losses against New England and Miami. Trey, who has won this before, has them at 4-0 to start the season. So, Evan, if the Seahawks start 4-0 with a win against Miami and in Detroit on Monday Night Football, what's going to happen to your nipples? Like, who are you going to tattoo?
Mike McDonald on my chest.
Yeah.
His eyes will be my nipples without question. I'll go on Q13 Fox and do it live.
I will ask Alyssa if she's interested in that offer.
That's why I will not be doing that. That was a joke. That was sarcastic.
No, but okay. So 4-0, that sounds ambitious. Jeff, like, do you think that how crazy? Like, what are the odds in your mind that could happen?
Probably like a 15% outcome.
Okay. Who's got it higher than that? Anybody thinks it's higher than a 15% chance other than Trey, obviously? Anybody?
Maybe 25, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
1 in 4?
But if they do, then I would like to go back and change my answers on this sheet. I'm just like, after 4 games, I want back in. That's it.
Yeah. Trey,
can I just say one thing?
Yeah, of course.
If there's one victory for us to have through the first 4 weeks, I chalked it up to a loss, but I want to win that Detroit game. And you know what? I want one of our players to take a football and after scoring a touchdown, like do a little Doug Baldwin like football poop right in front of Ben Johnson, because that guy was a punk this offseason. Seriously.
Oh,
Ben
Johnson.
Yeah.
You're just a little jilted. You're a jilted lover, man. You really wanted him to be the coach.
I am a little salty. I mean, I love Mike McDonald. I'm all in on we have a head coach who's wearing short Lululemon shorts. This is like the victory of a lifetime. Okay. I'm all in. But Ben Johnson needs his crap rocked a little bit.
You know, when I talked to Jarek Reed during the offseason, he said he was going to be at this game, even though he's on PUP, and he's going to be bringing back the blue face mask that he was wearing in the locker room. You remember that?
Yes.
That was pretty epic. I do want to take a moment to thank Suzette, hopefully that's Suzette, for gifting 5 Hawkblogger memberships. And one of the things that I love most about it is that someone gifted her a membership just a few days ago, and she's paying it forward. And that's something that we're seeing a lot of people do, and just love what that is, a way to grow the community and bring in a lot of cool people. All right, so we're going to move on. Next game, they come back home. They face the Giants. Everybody's got that as a win. I don't know that there's a lot to talk about in this game. If anybody has something they want to say, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next week. And Nathan, I'm going to come to you for the next game. So be prepared. Let's see if like your internet can catch up. The next game is a Thursday night game. So 4 days after they face the Giants, where everybody has them winning, they face the 49ers, and you have that as a win. You're one of, well, it's pretty split. 4 people have it as a win. Well, it is split. That's how numbers work. Math is 4 and 4. So we've got us even split on this game. You're someone that has it as a win. Why?
This is a home game, right?
It is a home game. Thursday night game.
Yeah, so I basically just figured they'd split with the Niners. I think, again, like I just think this team has a chance to be really good, and they're going to play they're going to steal some games against some of the better teams. Like I think that the Niners and the Packers and some of the other teams are kind of the tier above, but I think that Seattle will be able to hang with them. And this team should be kind of rounding into shape pretty well at this point. It's big rivalry game, big opportunity for them to make their first statement with McDonald and everything. And so yeah, I think they have a chance to steal this one at home.
Trey, you've got this as a win as well. So but by the way, this would have them as 6-0 for Trey.
Yeah, the other picks, I had some objectivity. There was no objectivity in this pick at all. This is completely subjective. I just want Mike McDonald to show up Kyle Shanahan on TV. And if that doesn't happen, I'll be heartbroken, but it'll be okay.
All right. Well, we all recover from these things. Josh, I mean, you've got this as a loss. Keep in mind, Kyle Shanahan put a bounty on DK Metcalf last year. And it actually worked, even though he was cheap shotted. It ended up being him that got the flag. There's going to be like Kyle Shanahan basically was told he kind of got owned by Mike McDonald. We've got some questions about whether Trent Williams is going to hold out. We got Brandon Ayuk. Let me just ask you, if this was the opposite of your prediction, if it's a win, what do you think it would mean for the team if they won their first matchup as Mike McDonald's team against the 49ers?
Well, I feel like there's like a game that, like for Pete Carroll when he was a first-year head coach, there was like, I'm trying to remember which game it was. It probably was the Saints one, but there was probably one before it that like made everyone on board. Like everyone loved the hire. And then there was one win that everyone's like, all right, this is something that we can like sit along for a while. And that would be like that, maybe even like something bigger because of how they've like beat us up to like a supreme level the last few years. I just don't see it. Like you could say, oh, they're all injured and they're coming in with like, you don't know who's going to be like Ayuk and Trent Williams, all that stuff. But it's also Mike McDonald's, fourth or fifth game as the coach. So it's like, it's hard for me to give him too much of a favor. And I just can't, I want to see it first before I like predict us beating them.
Jeff, you've got this as a loss as well. I think you've basically got them at 500 at this point. Same question to you. If that goes the other way, if they win that first game against the 49ers, what does it prove, if anything, to you?
I think the big thing is that Mike McDonald is the dude. I think he's for real. I think the biggest thing, if you watch those Niners games, other than the first half of that playoff game the last few years, they just really haven't been competitive, and they've kind of shown the gap between the two teams. Like you've seen how Seattle's just been toyed with by Shanahan in that offense the last few years. And if McDonald comes in and beats them their first game in a short week, Oh man, I just sort of what I was saying before at the 4-0 question. I think it's just this guy is the real deal, and you saw quickly with like McVay, like how good he was right away. And if he can come in and beat the Niners, and really it was like what Josh was saying. Really, what did it was in 2012 when the Seahawks smoked the Niners when Carroll beat Harbaugh by it's like 42-13. That was when you're like, okay, these guys are like they're coming, man. And yeah, I think that would be it. And Brian, I'm predicting you and David Lombardi have a run-in the press box, so that'll be interesting. But other than that, no, I think you can show more than anything. Like these guys are going to be like what Nathan said. These guys are better than a lot of people think, and it could happen quick.
I'm telling you. Wait, I'll get you in a second, Evan. I am planning to be at this game in the press box. As the only way I would attend a game in Santa Clara. I don't want to be stabbed. And I am going to, if the Seahawks, sorry, this is not the game, but when I do go to the next one, if I'm there for a Seahawks win in Santa Clara, my ability to have no reaction in that press box will be incredibly difficult. That might be the end of my press career. Like that moment, like it might just end at that. Like, remember when I think it was Harbaugh's coaches, like they came in when they beat Pete Carroll in Seattle, and they were like talking all this trash, and like there might be stories about in reverse if we go down there. I don't know, man. It'd be really hard to just keep my mouth shut, especially to Lombardi. Evan, what were you going to say?
What's your guys' perception on the Niners defense this year? Do you think they're going to like take a step back, regress at all?
Who wants that? Jump in.
Here's the thing. Can I just say, I have to see it before I believe it. Like we can, think about it all we want. Oh, the defense lost this. They did this. They're not as good. They're having all this drama in their season, blah, blah, blah. I need to see bad defense before I think they become, until proven otherwise, I still have to think they're, up there very high still.
Jeff?
All right, F it. They're gonna take a huge step back this year. It's time. The depth is an issue. The D-line is what's been really eating the Seahawks apart the last few years. Their D-line depth is shot. They're weak against the run. Their linebackers are hurt. I think it's the secondary where I think the secondary is going to be a lot better for them. But I think it's coming. I think old and bad drafts, it hits you in the NFL. And defense is meant to be volatile.
Jeff?
So I think it's coming, man. It's going to come.
You're 100% correct. Leonard Floyd injury, Gross Matos injury. That's a defense that Hufanga is still out. What's the other guy's name that's out? Greenlaw obviously got injured in the Super Bowl. First time defensive coordinator for the Niners. Like this is a defense that I think really relies on being able to generate like overwhelming pressure up front. And I think they're going to take a big step back this year in terms of being able to do that. So
I'll just add one thing. They already took a step back. This team, if you look at their DVOA, you look at what they've done, they took a big step back in run defense last year. Anybody have a credible case to make why their run defense should be better this year? Like Dre Greenlaw's out. Hufanga being back, and he won't be back to start the season. Maybe that's part of it. But I don't see a credible story for how their run defense is going to be better unless it's a schematic change. So yeah, I absolutely agree that's a big storyline. And I think of all the teams that could take a big step back in general, that nationally no one's expecting, San Francisco, I think, is at the top of that list. I think they may be one of the more overrated teams. And this is where you get to come back and clip this and shove it in my face a few weeks later. But that's kind of how I feel. So I'm going to be honest about it.
This is the coming out party for Seattle. The NFC West is back within their grasp. The Niners are on their heels. It's going to have the entire national media talking about it.
Dana's not buying it.
I want to believe you, Evan. Yeah. I really do. And I love that you guys have so much faith in a coaching staff. You have no idea what they're going to do or anything. So I'm all for it. I I guess I will happily take the role of the pessimist this year, even though I still think they're going to be good. So.
I just love watching defense, Dana, and I think they're going to have a really good defense.
I
So.
love watching. Okay, look, you're just trying to butter me up now, but that's fine.
Brian, how much did Mitch hate that segment?
Which one?
The one where we talk about Mitch is always giving you crap.
Oh
about
yeah, yes. Mitch doesn't. He always jokes about the fact that we were too optimistic and that too pessimistic about the 49ers too. So it's what I see. It's what I see. It's definitely a little hopeful. I will admit hope is mixed into that objectivity for sure. All right, let's keep moving. So now we're into week 7. This is at Atlanta. I think one of the more fascinating games of the year. I don't think anybody really knows. I think there's an expectation that Atlanta could be very good. Don't know. 10 a.m. game. And we've got myself, Evan, and Trey predicting a loss. Everybody else is a win. I was surprised by this, guys. Like, so am I giving Atlanta too much credit? Who here like felt like this is a relatively direct, like, hey, this is pretty clear that they're going to win. The Seahawks are going to win this game. Anybody want to speak to that, Nathan?
Yeah, like the Falcons really need to show something. This is a trash franchise that like made some dumbass moves with quarterbacks and like dumped a bunch of money in a mid-old Kirk Cousins. And why in the world is this a team that I should be worrying about? Like, maybe by the time we get there, cool, they'll have shown that they're actually like they belong the hype, they've earned the hype. But you signed Patrick Queen and draft a quarterback after spending a ton of money on a quarterback, and like, get out of here. You're not real. Like, you got to do something first.
I mean, you're right about the quarterback critique, but that's like forward thinking. Like, Kirk Cousins is still really good at football. They still have quite a few studs across their offense. Like, I could easily see this just being a stupid game that they lose.
Are we still pretending that Kyle Pitts is a good football player? Like, what are we? Drake London's like second year, or you know, I mean, what are these guys are like nothing. They're all hype. I mean, they hired a coach that I liked, but you know, now that he's on their team, he's failed once before. Like, what do we care about this dude?
Jimmy Lake is their defensive coordinator.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Now it's sold. Now Nathan wants to change the spreadsheet.
No, absolutely not.
I think he's going the opposite way. Yeah.
Atlanta, you are a trash franchise. You will always be a trash franchise. No, stop. I'm not buying into some kind of Atlanta Falcons hype before the season even starts.
I love this. I think this might be Desmond Ridder, reactionary commentary. Were you a Desmond Ridder guy?
I was, yes. But no, see, I'm mad about the Cardinals now. And actually, it's great because, John said they're still looking for a quarterback. So
I saw Griff tweeted that out. Hopingly. I guess I'm kind of with Evan in the fact that I'll go out there and say I do still think Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson with a quarterback that is not
a running back. Are we throwing running backs into the argument now? I'm
absolutely throwing Bijan Robinson into that list. I think they've been playing with a worse than Drew Lock level quarterback. And do I think that playing with a top 15 quarterback is going to make a big difference? Yeah. And in turf, I don't know. So I guess I have that as a loss. But especially, I mean, the bonus, I guess, if there's anything here, there will be a long distance. It's a Thursday game against San Francisco at home, and then they travel, the next Sunday to Atlanta. So there's at least a little bit of a mini bye, so to speak. But I think that's a tough game. I was surprised that so many of you had that as a win. So interesting to hear that. Anybody else on Atlanta before we keep moving? All right, let's keep going. Buffalo at home. This is a 1:00 game, and this is an evenly split one. 4 wins, 4 losses. I have this as a win. Nathan and Evan have it as a loss. Jeff and Josh and Trey have it as a win. Dana and Derek have it as a loss. Who's got a strong take here on this game? One way or the other? I see a lot of hesitant. No one feels particularly good about this one.
Here's the thing with this team. We're going to know a lot about Buffalo before this game, right? The first part of the season, we're going to see if they are one of the teams that is actually going to fall way back at this point. They are at a tipping point, and either they're going to be, start to climb up that ladder again, or they're going to start to fall off. So that one was hard for me. So I just went with priors of the last couple of seasons, how they've played, that sort of thing, because I do think that this is a very iffy season for them, but I do still think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So that's always something to fear.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff and I have talked about this. I feel like Buffalo's set for a little bit of a regression. I think they lost a lot more talent than they gained. And I think Josh Allen is elite. Like, that's not a big take, but that's the reason for me at home. If this was in Buffalo, I would have picked Buffalo, but being at home, I just feel like the Seahawks take this one. All right, let's keep going. The 9th week of the season, last game before the bye. This is at home against the Rams. So 2 home games in a row. They will have had 4 out of 5 at home to end this little stretch. We have got 3 of us, myself, Evan, and Josh, predicting a win, and everybody else predicting a loss. Interesting, Evan, you've got the Seahawks winning. I think you are the only one that has them beating the 49ers and the Rams in their first matchups. McDaddy, your favorite guy, talk about that a little bit.
I just think the team's going to take a step back this year. I don't have confidence that roster can stay healthy, that their core contributors can stay healthy. I think Matt Stafford's still a stud, but if the over-under on him playing like 10 games this year, I'd be tempted to take the under. Like, I really don't trust his body at all. Same goes with Cooper Kupp. They obviously don't have Aaron Donald. They just traded away a weirdly good linebacker for pennies on the dollar. I don't really understand what's happening over there. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Sean McDaddy being pissy the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got me a little sad, to be honest. He's losing the juice. I'm not confident in what's going on over there. So I do think I have them splitting yes, I do. Splitting the matchup, but I do have them winning that first game.
Yeah, I even saw that. I think they just let go an assistant special teams coach today. Have you ever seen that, where they let go an assistant like the week before the season starts?
That almost makes me wonder if something happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know what the word would be. Incident related.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little odd. So I mean, it's interesting here. I'll just recap that through 9 games, I've got them at 6-3. Nathan's got them at 6-3. Evan's got them at 6-3, and so does Josh. So 4 of us have them at 6-3. Most optimistic, Trey has them at 7-2. Dana's got them at 4-5. So she says she's in. I don't know if her predictions are certainly following that. Jeff and Derek have them at 5-4. So Jeff, Derek, and Dana, they're Jeff has been he's not been as outwardly cautious, well, maybe outwardly skeptical as Dana, but he's definitely been consistently cautious in his expectations for this year. So not a big surprise there. If they were 4-5 at this point, Derek, you've got them at 5-4, so maybe not a big deal. What do you think? How do you think the fan base is feeling? How are you reacting if they're 4-5 after 9 games?
I'm calm. I think this is going to be an up and down year. I think after the draft, we had a podcast, and I think they'll go 9-8, 10-7, somewhere around there, kind of a fringe playoff team. So 4-5, yeah, maybe a shaky start, maybe a bad game they dropped that they shouldn't have, but it's year 1 of Mike Macdonald, year 1 of Ryan Grubb. I think there's going to be some growing pains with that, so I'm not too concerned. I think it would have to be really bad for me to be concerned about this coaching staff moving forward. I'm talking 2-7 for me to have doubts.
Anybody else would anyone else be concerned if the team started off 4-5? And if not, what would the record have to be to where you're like, ooh, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be? How bad did it have to be?
I think we do this all the time, and the answer is always the same. It's how are they looking bad? In what ways are they looking bad?
Well, answer your own question. What would have to happen at this point? You're basically, halfway through the season. What would have to happen for you to have questions about the coaching staff? I mean, if there's injuries and all that stuff, fine. But where you're like, oh man, this may not be working.
Yeah, if the linebackers and the safeties look like trash and they're bleeding huge plays in the play action, game and stuff like that, then it's okay, yeah, that's understandable. If Reek and Spoon are like taking a step back or not looking right, if they're not able to generate pressure, which is like McDonald's whole thing, that's going to be super concerning for the coaches. And if the offensive line just doesn't look like the talent is there, like they've poured a lot of resources into that over the years, right? If it's bad and Haynes is starting, or if it's bad and Haynes can't get on the field, or Bradford's not right and Cross continues to look mediocre, then it's like you kind of have to go back to the like, well, what does John Schneider do here exactly? So, you know, like there's different ways for this to go wrong and it to be okay. But there's certainly some of these issues, like if the strengths aren't the strengths, then you really have to start asking some questions.
Josh, I mean, no one's as much of a vibes fan as Evan, like, you know, right? But do me a favor and try to predict like what would have to happen for Evan to be at his peak level of optimism that he was years prior. And what would have to happen in the positive for you to actually feel motivated to do a new Cable Thanos video?
Well, the first question, I've looked back at like some of our like tweets or memes or posts from like previous years, and we're like so unbelievably hyped and like vibes couldn't be higher. And then I checked the record and it's like 6-4 or 6-5 or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, we're like so like in the moment that we don't care. So I don't think it has to be as good as we think. Even like a winning record, obviously, but I think it matters way more how it looks, because I think we all are kind of aware like this is not going to be like this. We may not like make the playoffs. We may make the playoffs, but we're not like there, like completely there yet. So I think a lot of it is like a rebuilding mindset. And for your second question, it would take a lot because it has to do more with me not wanting to spend extra time than I already am editing. But I'll let the team just live on its own now.
Interesting. Okay. Evan, go ahead. I see you on mute.
Let me just tell you something. I have some content ready for this year that I'm holding in my back pocket, prepared, waiting for the right moment, particularly related to Jason Myers hitting very long field goals.
No.
I'm just telling you, I have it ready. So people
Evan,
just
please
be able to
keep
get that content out of your pocket, just so you know. If it's all Jason Myers related, it's not going to be utilized.
Derek,
sure you're clear of that.
Please don't have any Mike McDonald short edits ready to go.
I am absolutely.
No one wants to see
the stuff you could see that he's requested me to Photoshop.
Oh no!
It'll be like 7 a.m. and he's like, "Can you Photoshop this for me?" I'm like, "Dude, no." He didn't even ask. He just says, "Do it."
I'm gonna Photoshop some. Actually, I'm not gonna say that. No guarantees, Derek. Never mind.
There's like a naughty Fiverr going on here of Josh Cashman being asked to do design labor for nothing other than just bullying.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
Broncos fans were clowning on me on Twitter over the past week about like the short things. And not a single Seahawks fan gave a shit. They were like, "Oh, this is Evan. This is like daily." And they're like trying to screenshot me and like, "You said this, bro." And I'm like, "You're unfamiliar with my game. This is who I am. Like, I'm the content guy."
Yes.
You're ready.
Yes, you are.
You're ready.
While we're on this topic of like Twitter content, just content online, am I the only one who like gets the most excited at the very beginning of the season when I get to see that first DK Metcalf touchdown video that Josh tweets out? Like, I don't think anything is like, we're back, like lists we're back more than that video every year.
I made that thinking I was never going to post it again. And like, I'm in like church and I'll get notifications, like not even watching the game. Like, oh my God, I'm like cursed by this dumb video.
I thought Trey was going a real different way with that one. I thought he was going to talk about how annoying the Broncos fans are. So.
Well, that is actually we're going to fast forward the last half of the season. We'll talk about some games in bunches because otherwise we'll be here for longer than I think other people can stay. But I want to hear, like, of the games on the schedule, which fan bases, which games would you get the most satisfaction being able to shove in their faces? I assume the 49ers is that the top for everybody? Does anybody have a different one that would be the number one on their list? You have a different one, Dana.
You know I want to just cream the Broncos so bad.
Yeah.
You know how bad I hate that head coach, right?
Okay.
And the fights that Evan has picked with that fan base this week has been fantastic, and I appreciate it so much from you, Evan. But I think I'm in a place with the 49ers. It's like, yeah, even if we split it, we know they're probably, we're still good teams, blah, blah, blah. But the Broncos, no, I want that. I want it down. I'm so excited.
It is. I'll just add one thing. They're moderately surprising me with how delusional they are. Like, I know that fan base is brain dead, but like this whole Bo Nix, like crowning of the Messiah before he's ever played a single game. They're talking about like they're trying to like clown on other franchises in mediocrity purgatory. What has this team done since Peyton Manning?
Is anyone looking forward to seeing Riley Moss defend either JSN or DK Metcalf? I mean, there's real question marks on that team. I mean, that offensive line, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing Byron Murphy. There's a lot of stuff in that game. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I mean, they get hyped about Bo Nix. That's what they get hyped. You look at that receiver room. Cortland Sutton is like their guy, and then it's like, who?
That roster is bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad roster. We talk about games that we'd be concerned about, them losing, starting the season, what the trend looks like. If they lose the Broncos game, I'm not freaking out, obviously, but it'd be disappointing. Okay. My Twitter mentions might make me freak out. Yes. But it would be disappointing for sure.
Yeah. I think to answer my own question, 49ers, Broncos, and then maybe Bears might be third. Packers are on this list, but Bears, I think Bears fans, I don't have anything really against them, but I do feel like they are delusional right now. And I think they're in for trouble this year more than they realize. Josh doesn't agree with me. He is like all in on Caleb Williams. Shane Waldron is going to suffocate. He's going to like basically remove limbs from your player. That's what you got to deal with. I would like to see them go into Chicago on Thursday night and shock the nation by shutting down Caleb Williams.
The Bears are going to be so good that Shane Waldron is going to get interviewed for a head coaching job. That's how good Caleb Williams is going to be.
Okay. This is a meta prediction. By a show of hands, what's going to happen first? Shane Waldron will be fired. Show of hands. Or Shane Waldron will get a head coaching job.
You didn't give us the option first.
Those are your two options.
I think he'll
Shane
get
Waldron
interviewed.
will be fired. Those are your two options. Or Shane Waldron will get a head coaching job.
It's going to be dumb, but I think he'll.
He's going to get interviewed. He's going to get interviewed. That's my prediction.
Really dumb hire. It's going to be a really dumb hire, but I could see a team doing it.
They say you should always hire people smarter than you. You know how dumb an owner or a GM would have to be for that to be the case by hiring Shane Waldron. Like,
wasn't he like the pipeline for the next head coach at one point? Everyone was saying when we hired him, it was like,
this is our
new Sean McVay. Like,
It was.
We were them.
Brian saw his first press conference and was like, this guy.
That's why he's going to get an interview and not actually get the job.
There's nothing behind those eyes, guys. Trey, you had your hand up a while ago. What do you want to say?
Yeah. One more thought. I know Dana will agree with me on this one. Not a fan base, but can we just stick it to Aaron Rodgers one more time before he goes off to retirement and just lives however that freak lives? Just one more win against that arrogant.
Yeah,
you guys know the words.
That's a great one. That, like from a vibes perspective, that would be good. That's a good transition. Let's talk about the next 4 games as a block. Okay, so we got after going home against the Rams, we got a bye week, and then we go to San Francisco, Santa Clara, after the bye week. Okay, and then we go come back home against the Cardinals, the first game against Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., then 2 road games. So 3 of these 4 games are on the road. At the Jets, 10 a.m. game. at the Cardinals. So you play Cardinals 2 times in 4 games, first at home and then away. For this stretch, I have got them at 3-1 with 1 loss to the Jets. Nathan has got them at 3-1 with the 1 loss to the 49ers. Evan's got them 3-1, same as Nathan, lost to the 49ers. Jeff has them at 3-1 with a loss to the Jets, which means he's got them beating the 49ers, which is interesting, in San Francisco. Dana's got them at 2-2 with losses to the 49ers and the Jets. That's kind of chalk. Josh, same as Dana, 2 wins against Arizona, 2 losses to the others. Derek, 2-2. 2 wins against home against Arizona and at the Jets. He's got a Jets win. Derek's got a very consistently like bizarre predictions. He's like, they're just going to be absolutely wild this year. That's basically Derek's predictions. Trey has got them 2-2 with losses to at San Francisco and at the Jets. So anybody want to speak up about any of these games?
Well, I need to understand the Jets thing. People who have them losing to the Jets. Can someone explain that to me? Because while I agree, I would love to see the like Mafe pile drive Aaron Rodgers. There's no chance he's even playing at that point, right? I mean, are we buying into Jets hype?
Their D-line. That's my whole argument. Their interior is just, I could just picture it now, just wrecking our O-line. But I don't even know what I put, but that's just how I can see it happen.
You got a loss. You have a loss. Yeah, I just think the Jets have. I think the Jets could have the best defense in the NFL this year, and I don't think they were that far off from it last year. Home game, 10 a.m. game, and I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have to be good if he can be. I think of all the quarterbacks, he might be the best equipped to handle Mike Macdonald's defense, but I don't know if we've seen him go against Mike Macdonald's defense. So maybe it'll be the opposite. Maybe all his reading pre-snap and quick throws will backfire. I don't know, but that's kind of, it just feels like a tough one. If you got a really good defense at home, also it's in December in New York outdoors. It just might be a tough one. But Jeff, you look like you were going to say something.
No, I pretty much agreed with everything you said. I think the Jets have probably the best defensive personnel in the league. Our interior offensive line is the clear liability of this team. And game in December, I just think it's a tough matchup for this team specifically. I think what the Seahawks need to beat some teams is the ability to protect and the ability to be able to wide it open. And I don't think it's Rodgers that I'm believing in. I think it's the defense.
Evan, you're freaking me out. I'm not sharing my screen. Are you saying I should share my screen?
Oh, I didn't know if you meant to be sharing it or not.
No, I thought about it, but it's like, we can look at it, but it's like a big spreadsheet, and I think faces would be hard. I think people would rather see faces, so we'll kind of talk about it. I will share a link to everybody, and I'll post this on the blog so everyone can look at these predictions and laugh at them along the way. Anyone else? I mean, Jeff, I'm kind of curious. You've got them beating the 49ers in San Francisco. You've been pretty cautious generally. So why that game?
I think this is where the Seahawks are going to start to take a tick up. And I think this is what I've been saying the whole time. I think they're going to start slow. And then the second half of the year, we're going to start to see it. And if McDonald and some of these defensive players who I think are really, really good start to tick up, I think that's the game. We saw when McDonald kind of peaked last year is when they crushed Shanahan. I don't expect them to crush him this year, but I think if things are going the way I think they could, I think they might surprise them. And in that piece of shit stadium that has no fans, I think Seattle, that might surprise. I think I'm kind of on Derek's side where they might do a couple things this year that just make no sense. And I think that's one of them. And yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling they're going to shock some people, and I have a feeling, like Derek said, they might lose games that look stupid.
So after that, that'll be week 14. This fourth term of games is over. I will have had them at 9-4. Nathan 9-4. Evan 9-4. We've been we've been the same, at least record-wise, not the same game, same record-wise so far all the way through. Jeff at 8-5. Dana 6-7. Josh 8-5, Derek 7-6, Trey 9-4. So we've got 4 of us at 9-4, and Dana is the only one below 500. But I respect it. She's being cautious. I've been too optimistic every year. I had to really work on that this year, It was tough. All right, last four games. We have 2 at home and then 2 on the road. 2 at home are Green Bay Sunday Night Football. All right. Then Minnesota, 1:00 game at home, 2 home games. Then December 26th, short week, have to travel all the way to Chicago to play a Thursday night game. And then as of now, it says we're playing the Rams on Friday. I don't know what that means. Whatever, we'll find out. The Rams game, last game of the season, is TBD. So Thursday night game and then a longish break to the final game of the season at the Rams. Anybody want to talk about their predictions for these 4 games? Josh, I got to at least hit you up on the Green Bay game because you are the only one that predicted a win for that game at home. That's crazy to me that only one of us are predicting that the Seahawks beat the Packers at home on a Sunday night primetime game. So tell me why you predicted it.
Yeah, I just don't think the Packers defense, I think it's vulnerable. It was pretty bad last year. And I think Seattle, like with Grubb, I could just picture him taking that, like winning the game. And then I also think Jordan Love, he played good at the end of last year, but I just, I'm betting on the fact that he's not going to be that. So that was my thought process.
Did anyone else think that was a win? I'll just say, I think the Packers are maybe the best team in the NFC. I think they absolutely outclassed the 49ers last year and should have won that game. Absolutely took some bad luck to not win it and whatever. Youngest team. I think they made some good draft choices. They're well coached. They have a really good home field advantage. I just feel like that could be a team that's really tough this year. And I had to try to find some that I was going to be a little conservative on. So I didn't expect everybody to pick this as a loss, though.
I think that day I listened to a podcast about their new defensive coordinator, and he was hired from Boston College. He was their head coach, and they had their defense was ranked in the hundreds or something like that. So I'm like, all right, they're going to be terrible. So I just put a
I know you listen to. I listen to the same one.
Yeah.
For me,
on that Packers game. Sorry, Dana.
No, go ahead.
Going on that Packers game, I think that was a tough game to predict. I think most of us just think that that's going to be a hard game to win. But if they do win the game and at the night after or the night of that game and they win, they're still in the playoff race. I think everybody should go to the nearest casino, or if you're Evan, you use the DraftKings Sportsbook app and go put a bet down for this team to win the NFC. That's what I would do. So that'll be really, I think if any games have a chance to sway me one way or the other on this team, I think this game could really bring the vibes up in the fan base.
Interesting. Dana, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I'm really struggling with Green Bay because they played so well at the end of the season and this team looks so well put together. But what I'm seeing is they are one of those ones that are teetering on an edge of one injury derails the whole team. 2 injuries completely derails the whole team. You know what I mean? I feel like they are that team where they should be really good, but they lose this guy and this guy. They just like the Vikings when they, and not just the quarterbacks either. I don't know. I just feel like they're teetering a little bit, but I do think that they have the potential to be a very, very good football team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, Trey. I'm going to ask that question in a little bit, but it would be hard for me to have a home game be a game that convinces me all of a sudden about them. But, if the Packers are 12, 13-1 or whatever it would be, and the Seahawks beat them, then yeah, then I would try to change my mind.
I think part of it is it's so late in the season too. It's hard for me to be convinced this team is a Super Bowl contender on, let's say, the Detroit game early in the season or the San Francisco game early in the season. So I think part of it is late in the season, but I understand what you mean with it being a home game.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the dynamic of that game is going to be super fierce, though, because there's a strong chance both of those teams are making a strong playoff. I mean, obviously for the Packers, but Seattle could be, fighting for a playoff spot, like a playoff spot. And the Packers lost a lot of folks and a lot of guys in the offseason, but they also who they draft in the first round? That like left tackle guy, replacing the guy that left in the offseason.
Jordan Morgan.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it shores up the blind side for Jordan Love.
Yeah, the Josh Jacobs signings, big deal, the run game. Although they did lose A.J. Dillon for the year. We'll see. I like Javon Bullard. I don't know how he's been playing, but
He started.
He was one of my favorite players in this draft. It was like Brian Branch. Like I was like, oh man, why do they have to keep going to NFC teams? Yeah, I also thought it was kind of interesting that a number of people picked the Seahawks to beat the Bears. Historically, road teams on Thursday night games do not do well. And if you add into that, this is the longest trip on a Thursday night. Dallas is a little bit, it's relatively similar, but Chicago is technically farther away. It's tough. It's tough for me to like, I want it to be right, but I've got that as a loss because I have a hard time seeing them go on a Thursday night and do that. As far as the last game of the season against the Rams, Jeff and Dana have that as a win. This is in LA. Trey has it as a win. Everyone else has that as a loss. It's interesting. I'm tempted to kind of go back and look. I didn't do this ahead of time, but as far as divisionally, you guys can maybe look at your own numbers real quick, but I've got them at, I have them losing 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2. I've got them 4-2 in the NFC West.
I got 2-4 on mine.
2-4. That'd be rough.
3-3 for me. I think I have them losing both of the Rams game.
Okay. Why is that?
I like Sean McVay. I don't know. They're going to win some. They shouldn't. They're going to lose some. They shouldn't. I think the Rams are good. I mean, they're solid teams, and Sean McVay, he's cool.
Trey's got him at 4-2.
I'm at 3-3.
3-3. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the divisional stuff is just always so huge, and how good Arizona is going to be super pivotal. Whether the 49ers do take a step back and they're not a super team anymore is pivotal. Whether or not the Rams take this step forward that everyone's predicting, or Aaron Donald leaving, Ernest Jones leaving, losing their defensive coordinator to Atlanta as a head coach, like maybe it doesn't go as well. How those teams play is just absolutely pivotal for how well the Seahawks can do this year.
I think I'm the only one who has a loss to Arizona on the schedule. Even Josh.
You are, Derek.
Arizona.
Okay, so gut instinct across the board. Gun to your head right now. How does the NFC West shake out ranking wise? Are we all unanimously number one?
This is so hard because I think the Seahawks are the hardest team to predict in this objectively, nationally. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Okay, let's do this. Let's start from the bottom up. So who's taking fourth? Is because I think the Rams might fall really flat this year.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
I don't see that.
I could see it. Yeah, I think it's going to be injury related. I really do. I don't think Stafford's going to make it the full year.
It'd be fun to play Jimmy G again for sure.
The whole division, though, does feel like it's in kind of a state of flux. Like
it does.
Just how good are the Niners this year? The Rams could go a couple different directions, and obviously, if Stafford is hurt or if he finally just hits, falls off the aging cliff. What are the Cardinals? Are they actually plucky upstarts, or are they the Cardinals? And the Seahawks have plenty of questions around a whole new coaching staff and everything too. So. I think it's Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, with those first three teams being legitimately good, and the Cardinals being somewhere from plucky to just the Cardinals. But I don't know. Barring something like the Niners being the worst team in this division, I don't think anything would shock me all that much.
I mean, Kyler Murray's on a T-shirt underneath Josh's sweatshirt. I know it. And he's still got him going 0-2 against the Seahawks. I mean, explain yourself, man.
I mean, it's not always the quarterback. It's more of just the team around the other teams in the division. I think the Cardinals are actually going to be pretty good. I think we were kind of so blinded by the ending of the season that we forgot how good they played against us and how good they ended the season. And they have like a decent defense, and they have like little like no-name guys who are actually pretty good. So, and then I also think that the Rams are just going to be like annoyingly good again. So I think it's more of just someone has to be last, and it has to be the Cardinals.
All the hipster film guys love the Cardinals.
They do.
They love the Cardinals coaches. They're like, they're doing all sorts of stuff there. Like, forget the fact that it was the 32nd ranked defense in every single stat. They do some crazy things. I was like, okay. If they get if they're even like the 22nd ranked defense this year, you're going to hear so much from the hipsters film crew about that.
Well, where they struggle is up front, right? I mean, the front
they struggle a lot of places, man.
Dude, have you seen their defensive depth chart?
It's bad.
Oh, I know it's bad, but I mean, they do.
Like Mike Clay, who does like the league rankings, just tweeted out their roster on defense. It honestly looks like an expansion team. I'm not joking. Like I'm gonna send the tweet right now. I want to find it.
Well, like Darius Robinson, their first round pick, out on IR, right? Like they already lost Ojulari, their other edge player, for the season.
LJ Collier was talking a lot of
talk.
I
found it.
LJ Collier looks like he ate LJ Collier.
If LJ's doing media for them, that's a bad sign.
Yes. Yes.
All right, I put the tweet in the group. Pull it up and look at their defensive depth chart in the private chat.
You guys don't want to know what's going on in the private chat. It's an ugly place. But I mean, I don't have to look at it because I have before.
Looks like
it's bad.
I don't know, like 80% of
like their defensive line is atrocious.
So we should get back though to the question at hand of like the division where things work. Dana, I'm always very curious for you. How do you think the division shakes out?
Well, I'm going to get yelled at, but I do think the 49ers still win the division. And then I think there is a true toss up between the Seahawks and the Rams for second. I have no faith in Arizona. I have no faith in Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be hurt by the 6th game again and out for the season. And I think it's just on repeat. Did they add a little help? Yeah, but I don't think enough to change much. But could be wrong. You never know. But I think that the Rams, I think people are making Aaron Donald leaving a bigger issue than it really is. Yes, he's the greatest defensive player that's ever played, and I will say that forever. But I think that their offense is still really good, and I really like is it Kyron Williams, their running back? I think he's gonna do, but then he's gonna do some punt returns too, so they get hurt all the time too. So I think that's what it's gonna come down to. I think it's gonna come down to and I know that it sounds like a cop-out, but it's going to come down to injury for between those two. But I do think that Seattle, let's say full roster, what they have in front of them, no one's hurt. I think Seattle could top the Rams just in the way that some of their games fall. But I also think, I don't know. I think the Rams are going to be really good. But again, I don't know that Stafford will make it the whole season either.
Yeah,
so
the current odds are 49ers negative 190 or 200 to win the division. They're favorites. The Rams plus 330 to 350. The Seahawks plus 700 to 800. So they're basically the Rams are twice as likely, at least by betting odds, to win the division. The Cardinals are similarly half as likely as the Seahawks to win the division. They're plus 1400. For me, that feels most tempting for the Seahawks, and it's not really that close. Now, of course, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm biased. I've always been optimistic, especially at this time of year. But I think the 7.5 win number is the easiest over, which means it makes me very nervous. But the 700 plus 700 on winning the division, I think the Seahawks are closer to being able to win the division than they are finishing in last place.
You're making me pull up DraftKings right now. I'm not even kidding. I can't continue to hear this because I will do stupid things.
Jeff, you look like you're going to say something.
I'd be pretty surprised if the Seahawks win the division.
Sure.
I'm kind of bullish on the Rams still. I think the Rams actually might be pretty good. I hope I'm wrong about that. I just think when you have an offense that good with that coach, I think it's just set up for sustainable play. I think that's much more than defense. But yeah, I don't think those odds are too far off. But the vibes around the Niners are just so bad right now. If Trent Williams eats into the season, I think that like Ayuk gets all the attention. But like this Trent Williams thing seems bad, and just the vibes around that team are really bad right now. I can't remember a team that like had vibes like that and all of a sudden just played well. Like there's some weird shit going on with them. It's just this division's like it's like what Nathan said. It's really in flux. It's hard to tell. Like a lot of the teams are older. Like the Rams are older, and the best player in the division, Aaron Donald, is gone. And the Seahawks, like if the Seahawks are so weird because if you ask like a casual fan, like they're like, oh, they're mid. Geno Smith sucks. Like they're irrelevant. The smarter football people are like really bullish on the Seahawks. Like if you heard Sheil Kapadia last week on with Bill Simmons, or you hear like Robert Mays, like they're super bullish. So like the range of outcomes in the Seahawks, like depending on who you ask, is pretty crazy. So like that's why their team is so interesting this year, because like if you just ask the average guy, that even Mike Florio heard today on with Softy was like, yeah, Geno Smith sucks. Like they don't know what the hell they're doing over there. But it's just such an interesting team right now.
I almost asked Schneider this today. I had two questions I almost asked, and I just didn't because I didn't think they were going to get particularly good answers. I was going to ask, do you think the Seahawks can win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith at quarterback? I decided that was not going to be a productive question to ask. And then the second question was, most preseason rankings have the Seahawks as one of the 10 worst teams in football. Where do you think the Seahawks, how do you feel about that? Like, what's your reaction to that? Like for me, like the framing of that is like, no way. Like, and I don't know, we will find out. Like that's the whole fun of this, but I haven't had vibes like this about the Seahawks since 2011, roughly. Like where I'm like, I see it in the practice field. This team is different. They have talent that's going to, like, people are sleeping on them, and I like that. And it's going to be much different than people realize. I feel that pretty strongly, to the point where I'm like, I've got to be cautious, because it would be easy for me to be like, but this is a tough schedule. Like I thought it was easier than it is, but there's all throughout, there's some tough games. And I would have had a hard time coming to 12 wins with this team. But you know, that's where we are. And that's a segue. I will just say really quickly. I ended up with a 10-7 prediction. Nathan was 11-6. Evan was 11-6. Jeff was 10-7. Dana was 9-8. Josh was 10-7. Derek was 9-8. And Trey was 11-6. So we have 3 people at 11-6. That's the high water. 2 people at 9-8. That's the low water. And as far as where they have the season ending, the farthest that anyone's got, Dana says playoffs. I need you to give me a where in the playoffs they're going to end. Which round? First round, second round?
Why? I mean, if they make it to the playoffs, we'll all be thrilled. So who gives a crap if they lose in the wild card round? We'll just be like, holy crap, they made it to the playoffs. Right. I think if they manage to win enough games to make it to the playoffs, that's a pretty good indicator that this team is getting better as the season goes. And so they would probably win the wild card. But I mean, hell, if they get there, cheers to them, right?
It is a prediction show, though, Dana.
I just predicted playoffs.
Well, that's
what I did.
I'm going to let her off the hook. I'm going to let her off the hook.
Okay, wild card.
Thank you. So the furthest that anyone has them going is the NFC Championship game. 2 people have them getting there. I want to give a second for chat to guess who are the 2 people out of the 8 that have them. You know, it's not Dana. So 2 people out of 7 that have them getting to the NFC Championship game. I'm going to give you a count to 10, and then I'm going to tell you who it is. Evan, actually, you can go ahead and say, you're going to say something.
No, it's just
okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We've got some guesses in chat. We've got Jeff and Evan. We've got Trey and Evan, Evan and Trey. Brian and Evan, just Brian. I'm 2 people. Trey and Brian, Evan and Trey. Okay, Matt's back with got it with Trey and Brian, Brian and Trey. A lot of people with me. Trey and Evan, Evan and Trey. I'm not one of them.
Charlie Unicorn says Brian and Brian. That would be fun. But it is actually, raise your hands if you have them going to the NFC Championship game. Nathan and Trey.
And I will point out,
pilled.
The last time me and Trey were on the same page, that was the first Geno year going to the playoffs. We called that.
That's spot on, Nathan. That's spot on.
So more. What is the storyline here? You both have them at 11-6. Does that mean they're getting home field for a game, or what? Actually, they don't. Yeah, what would that be? What are you picturing the path there?
Well, I mean, I think that I figure the Niners will still win the division, so that puts them as a wild card, right? So I don't know what exactly the path ends up being, but yeah, I'm just choosing to believe. I mean, I think I'm still bought in on Geno being really good. I think everything you're hearing about DK and JSN, no, not running back build, absolutely not. And, with Grubb, just maybe bringing a different element, finding ways to utilize these guys a little bit more. I'm not a Waldron hater, but like Pete in the middle of last year after a game did just straight come out and say, hey, we're not using our guys to the best of their abilities. So there does seem like there's some juice to squeeze there. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's opportunities for a coach to come in and make a huge impact. And I think everything that we've seen out of McDonald so far has been incredibly positive. I like the way he's going to try to you can already see the offensive lines absolutely hate playing against this team. And they're not even doing all the stunts and the games and the weird blitzes and stuff that they're going to get up to. And so his approach of just, I think this is what I didn't really understand about him is Schneider kept saying that, we played the Ravens, and all the guys were like, what was that? Oh my God, what just happened? And I thought it was, I didn't know if it was his coverages or what is he doing to these quarterbacks? And I don't think he's really doing it to the quarterback so much as he's just confusing the hell out of offensive lines. And you can already see that happening in the preseason. And so I'm bought in. I figure, we'll see how long he can stay ahead of the curve and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity for this team to make a big splash, make a cool run. And yeah, NFC Championship game, I think is very attainable. I don't know that it's the likeliest outcome, but I think it's within reason.
One of my favorite situations is when Nathan's more optimistic than me. That is one of my favorite moments in life. And I'll just ask this, and Trey, I'm going to get to you because I want to hear about your thoughts there on the NFC Championship game. I'll ask you all this. When's the last time that the Seahawks had not a scheme advantage? We've talked about that, but a play calling advantage on either side of the ball. Play caller that was one step ahead, that could adjust to the game script, that adjust to the. I would say the last time is Mike Holmgren.
You've been asking this question for as long as we've been doing this podcast. I feel like 2 or 3 times a season we get this question.
I've asked you about scheme, but play calling.
Oh,
play calling is different.
I'm told online that Ken Norton Jr. is one of the great defensive coordinators in the league.
Would you stop trolling Griffin, Maddie? It's like your pastime.
As you can see, I get people live rent free in my brain too often. There's if you listen to our show, I'm taking weird digs at the. So yeah, I need to adjust my.
We're all Seahawks fans, man. Yeah, I'll just say I think it's Holmgren, and that was one side of the ball. I think Grubb and McDonald are going to be play calling advantages. I don't know, have the Seahawks ever had a play calling advantage on both sides?
More Bobo in the chat is right. Skybox Shoddy for the first 6 weeks of 2020. That is absolutely true.
Wait, do we know if Grubb is going to be in?
I don't know if that was a play
press box for sure. He'll be press box.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Skybox Shoddy was a play calling. I think just Russ was just awesome in that style, and then eventually they got figured out. I'm gonna give that one to Russ. I don't do that.
I'd actually agree with you, Jeff. I mean, I thought Shoddy was decent, but I'm not sure that any defensive coordinator is I don't know what he's gonna do next. How do we handle Shoddy?
Yeah.
I remember we were pretty hyped about like the first 2 drives of every Shane Waldron game, and then it fell off a cliff immediately after that.
Yes. Yes. I got excited when there were people showing like, hey, look how he's using tight ends. And I was like, oh, maybe we got something finally. And then it was like, oh, that's all he knows how to do is work with tight ends. Anyway, like Trey, I'll give you one moment here if you have anything about the NFC Championship game. Anything different than Nathan?
No, I think that you said it all, Brian. The reason that I'm optimistic is about the defensive and offensive play callers that we have coming in this season. It's just going to be so refreshing from what we've seen year after year under this team, as much as I love Pete Carroll. I'm just surprised the guy who created Hawk Blogger Mornings and has had 7,000 straight podcasts in the morning is one of the 2 guys that did not pick this team to make it to the NFC Championship game. I think you have a little bit of explaining to do there.
Honestly, it is a fair question. For what it's worth, I have him getting out of the divisional round, so I do have him winning a playoff game, but it is purely because I looked back at my predictions and I'm too bullish at this time of the year, and I want to be a little bit more measured. And so, I mean, my heart of hearts is this is like a 13-win level team. Like, I think in my heart of hearts, I think this is a team that can compete for the NFC. That's like what I honestly believe. But there's so many unknowns, and they're just going to have to prove it. So that's where for me, I probably am still too optimistic. Maybe, who knows? But that's where I was like, all right, let's rein it in a little bit. Let somebody else be the most optimistic out of the crew this year, and that's how I got there.
I think you should go back. I think you should change it. I think you only get like we'll never have more optimism. I mean, except for Dana, than we do right now, right? Like everything, the only like everything can just go wrong from here. But like, I think you are the most bullish. Like you're the most bought in on McDonald of any of us.
It's
so
true.
Like, call your shot.
No,
17-0 Super Bowl.
I'm not gonna.
You're gonna feel so bad at the end of the year when they get to the Super Bowl and you're looking back and you're like, "Oh, I played it safe."
Nathan, if you think that's true, then you don't know. I would be happy to be wrong 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 if the Seahawks overachieve what I say. 1,000,000
I don't think
times
so.
out of 1,000,000.
I think this prediction show is everything to you.
I do take a lot of pride in the predictions I was making back in 2011 and 2012 before it was a little bit, but you know, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'll stick with what I've got here. Anybody else? Everyone's got them in the playoffs. That's kind of surprising. Even Dana, even Derek. You know,
to be fair, I was on the fringe, and I looked back the last couple of seasons with the 7 teams now with the 3rd wild card, and I was like, most 9 and 8 teams get to the playoffs, so I threw them in there. But I think they're going to be right on the cusp.
All right, so that is the record predictions. We're going to move to the prop bets, and we're going to do this faster. So appreciate everyone hanging around, but we will do this. If you haven't given the show a like and click subscribe, please do. Would really appreciate it. And these prop bets, some of them were submitted by patron members, patreon.com/hawkblogger, as well as YouTube members. So there was a ton in there. Some of them were like predicting stuff that there's no way we could be able to actually track. And there were so many, we aren't going to get to them all. But I do have a number of prop bets in here. First one that actually did come from I think a patron was, who's the first head coach to be fired? We haven't done this one before. I had Nick Sirianni. I think I was the only one. I think the Eagles are the other team for me with the 49ers that I think could absolutely be ready to fall off a cliff. I thought they were awful at the end of last year. I'm not convinced they're going to be better now. I think he is a blowhard. I lost a ton of respect for him last year. And if it goes wrong, it gets ugly real quick in Philadelphia. So that's my guy.
I think that's a sneaky good pick, Brian. Sneaky good. Yeah.
Thank you, Trey. We've got you and Nathan have Robert Saleh. You guys are really shading the Jets. Say a little bit about it.
Me and Trey are just birds of a feather, I guess. But I'm not going to underestimate the amount of chaos that can come out of that team this year. And the dude's never had a winning record. I mean, if they start the season 0-3 and Aaron Rodgers is on some weird ass podcast talking shit about Robert Saleh, like it's not out of the realm of possibility that dude's gone. Real quick.
I think that's fascinating. I want them to go 1-0. Let's just be really clear. I'm going to be a huge Jets fan on Monday Night Football against the 49ers. And I think there's a decent chance they might go 1-0. I would love to see that. Both Derek and Jeff have McCarthy. Jeff, talk about that a little bit.
Talking of teams with really bad vibes right now, the Cowboys are a mess. And they got the Dak Prescott thing lingering over. Jerry Jones, I don't know if you heard his comments the other day about how last year was like everyone's playing for their jobs this year. They hired Mike Zimmer. They got the intern coach on the staff now as a guy. So if things get bad, and there's potential, they got 2 rookie offensive linemen. Their quarterback needs to be paid. Micah Parsons needs to be paid, and things fall apart. I think Jerry's just going to pull the plug and give Zimmer the rest of the year, and then probably hire Bill Belichick. So I think the writing's on the. I'd be shocked if McCarthy gets through, is coaching them next year, and the fact that they just had Zimmer sitting there, I think that's just like if things are ugly for McCarthy, they can just pull the plug and let Zimmer coach the rest of the year and then figure it out.
You have a great interim on the staff, yeah.
Anything you'd add to that, Derek?
No, I'm right there with Jeff. I think he's gonna be on a short leash.
All right. Dana and Josh have Brian Dable of the Giants, and Evan has Dennis Allen. Anyone want to say anything about their prediction there?
I just think the Giants are a disaster. I think that the fact that they're sticking with the 2 quarterbacks that they have, I just think that the whole team is just a mess. And I think that I was shocked when he didn't get fired last year. So I think he's going to have to really show something, I think, in those first 6 games. And then I don't think he'll make it to week 7.
The thing I'll say on the Saints is Dennis Allen literally gave Derek Carr $150 million in the year 2023. And their draft decisions basically supported the belief that he can be a franchise quarterback again. And those decisions need to, I think, show some evidence behind that being true.
You know what's interesting about the Saints? I think that the rest of the nation thinks the Seahawks are the Saints. I think they think of them as the same kind of level of team. I think they had the same amount of wins last year. Like, they had more wins than I thought they did. And I think that's not close. I think of the Saints as like a decaying, no future, decrepit team with poorly coached, poorly quarterbacked, like bottom third of the league quarterback. I think that's how a lot of people think of the Seahawks. And I'm looking forward to seeing that not be the case. All right. So next thing I wanted to ask about, this one was fun. Reek Woolen interceptions plus Devin Witherspoon sacks, the sum total of those 2 things. And in case you didn't know, actually, I'm not sure I know. I got to go back and make sure I've got this in front of me. What that would have been last year, I think Reek Woolen had 2 interceptions. I know that. And I think Devin Witherspoon had 3 sacks. I'm right. So it would have been 5, would have been the total last year. Derek predicted the same, 5, the same as it was last year. I was the high watermark. I predicted 11. I think Devin Witherspoon is going to have 7 sacks this year. And I think Woolen's going to have 4 interceptions. I think Devin Witherspoon is going to have a lot more sacks than people realize. I would love to see him actually beat Jamal's record. I don't think he's going to get that many, but this guy, every single time he gets sent, every single time he gets to the quarterback, in training camp, even like the team that practices against him and knows it, like, he is just an elite blitzer, and I think he's going to cause problems. So that's why I'm the high watermark there.
I'm excited to make jokes all year about moving him to linebacker.
Blitz boy. I hope not. Nathan, you did have it at 10, so you're one below me. Trey, you had it at 10. Any thoughts you want to add there? What's your mix? What's your mix? Like, who do you think's getting the more than? Is it 5 of 5? Is it someone getting more or less?
I think if there's going to be more or less, I think Witherspoon would have more sacks, because I think that I could see McDonald just like kind of unleashing him in this offense, getting really creative. Defense, sorry. But yeah.
All right. Looking at other people, I don't think there's anything else. Well, most people, like Evan had 9, Jeff had 8, Dana had 6, Josh had 7. So relatively consistent. This one's kind of fun. So we're going to do these couple together. JSN receiving yards, and then who will have the most receptions on the Seahawks. I had the most receiving yards for JSN. I had 1,190. I think if I remember right, that is 70 yards a game. I think that's how I came to that. I think that's roughly what he'll be good for, and that gets him to 1,190. It's also, by the way, within about 40 yards of what I think Jalen Polk had for Washington as the second leading receiver for the Huskies. The low watermark was Josh with 800. Josh, explain yourself. Why do you hate JSN?
I thought of this a couple ways. First of all, I did my DK prediction last year, and I was like over by like 600 yards, like something crazy. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know like receivers very well, I guess. But so I went low, and also just because I feel like this is a lot of his predictions are based on like projections and how much we think he's going to improve, which I think he will. But it's hard for me to go there yet, and I still think Tyler Lockett is going to have like a decent year, and that's partially what factored in there.
I'm with Josh on that one, that I think it's kind of going to be a split between Tyler and JSN. Plus, maybe some more tight end usage. Maybe we see Noah Fant take a bigger role in this offense. So I'm with Josh on that one.
But Brian, almost 1,200 yards. That's a lot.
Yeah.
DK didn't even have wait, what did he have last year?
Did he have a 1,300 or 1,100 yard?
He had a 1,300, and I think he got like 1,090 or something last year, didn't he?
DK last year was 1,000. Where is it?
114, I think.
Why am I not seeing it? 1,114. Yeah. Yeah, I have them having 2 1,000 yard receivers. I have DK actually. I don't predict it on here, but I have DK. I think he's going to have 1,500 yards receiving this year.
I had him on the over 2 for that, and I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, I think they've already talked a little bit about Noah Fant, and maybe he eats into it some and all that, but I don't know. Ryan Grubb had 3 awesome receivers last year, used them a ton, did not like use tight ends or some of this other stuff nearly as much. So he's got 3 super talented wide receivers. I think he's going to find a way to get him the ball a whole bunch.
An interesting kind of corollary to this is how many receptions Kenneth Walker will have. And in terms like pass distribution, I was really surprised by how low the predictions were for this. Just as for last year, Kenneth Walker had, where did it go? Kenneth Walker had, why am I having trouble finding this? There it is. He had 29 receptions, 37 targets. So a lot of your predictions are basically like he will have the same as last year. Jeff has 29, same. Nathan has 24, so less. Dana has 32, basically the same. Derek 28, Josh 30. Like you guys are all basically saying he will have the same year reception wise. Trey is up at 42, Evan's at 38. I'm at 55. So I think that Kenneth Walker is going to be on the field more than he was last year. I think he's going to get I think he's going to play on third downs, which he wasn't playing last year. And I think he's going to be the primary target as a, check down for Geno on third downs and for a lot of other plays. I think people talk about Breece Hall and what he's done. I think he's going to have a similar year in terms of target distribution. Jeez, I'm not going to tell you what's going on in private chat. It has to do with milk duds, and it's just not something I can share and keep this a family show. Here I'm giving this impassioned speech about Kenneth Walker, and there's the milk dud conversation going on.
You started talking about running backs, and we all just checked out.
That's true. It's true. For what it's worth, I think I just want to reiterate, bring up the clarity on one thing. The Seahawks ran a very low number of plays last year, like less than 1,000 plays on offense, partially because the offense didn't sustain drives, partially because the defense was awful. A bunch of my just general predictions about numbers are going to be that they're going to be a much better offense. They're going to be on the field much more. They're going to run a lot more plays, which is going to mean there's a more distribution and more opportunity for more players. So that's part of what's driving that. All right, I see everyone's got the sillies, so let's talk about Jason Myers. We have got Jason Myers missed extra points plus field goals. You will not be surprised to know that Evan came in and filled this out for everybody. He put zeros in for everybody, of which everybody very quickly went and edited. Evan, I'm going to give you the opening on this. Explain why Jason Myers is going to have 0 missed extra points when he missed 2 in consecutive preseason games.
First of all, he's getting the little nervous giggles out in the preseason. Okay. This is a man who is very hot and very cold. Okay. He rotates year on, year off. Some years he decides not to be good at football. This year, thank you, Zach. That's actually a little denigrating him. He's better than fine.
How do you know that's not? He's talking about how he looks.
I mean, fair. He's got some legs. Jason does. Where was I even going with this? Oh yes, every other year he's good. This is an even year, right? So he's gonna have an amazing year. This is how it works. That's the extent of the logic.
Anybody else have something to say about Jason Myers?
What do you think about that 58-yard field goal he made on Saturday night, Brian?
It was good.
Good?
Yeah,
good.
It was good.
It's his job, Evan. He did his job.
58 yards is above expectation, though.
I'm just saying.
I think Mitch has the best take on this, that they should put Jason Myers into this just black box and then just bring him out and don't tell him if he's going to be kicking an extra point or just a regular kick each play.
It's
and
like
maybe he would make all of his kicks.
They put on the horses.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
He only scores the most points for the Seahawks on multiple games.
This is Evan's most tired take. I just shake him. I tune out every time this guy talks about it.
If it makes you feel better, the Niners spent a 3rd round pick on theirs, and they all hate theirs too. So at least we didn't use any draft capital on ours. It's
just a $5.5 million cap hit. Okay.
Yeah.
For now, pre the next extension.
Jesus Christ.
And by the way, the market is getting more expensive. I don't know if you've seen that.
I want our listeners to know that Evan does not have a Jason Myers jersey or T-shirt, which shocked me.
Fan, not a real fan.
I thought.
Jeff, don't you think that he should be wearing a youth XL T-shirt and Jason Myers T-shirt, or maybe a youth medium to the game? The first.
I don't know. He's too jacked now. He might rip.
That's
the Incredible Hulk, but maybe old Evan. But I figure Evan would go to every home game or road game. He get one at home every year. I'm stunned he doesn't have a Myers jersey.
I do have a Jason Myers tattoo in a private location, though.
Oh, come on.
Swear to God, I do.
No, you do not. You do
He
not.
can't even keep a straight face. Evan, come
That's the
on.
way I said that. Please take me off the podcast.
What's in those milk duds? All right. Evan actually asked us to add a prediction in real time during the show. So I've added it, and it is Brock Purdy interceptions.
I have a theory behind this, though, Brian. I really do. I do have a legitimate theory behind this.
Okay, go ahead.
I saw some advanced stats from last year that Brock Purdy threw the most interceptable passes that were not intercepted or something in NFL history. He had a record for dropped interceptions. And I think last year he only had 11 interceptions, but if everything should have been caught it would have been 20 to 25. So I think this is just a fun one to throw in.
I think that's actually a well-reasoned argument. Where did that come from?
My brain, which is organic to those types of thoughts.
Trey?
I also think it's important for the context to know when Trent Williams is going to get back, because the later that he gets back, the higher this number goes up for me.
Yeah, but Trey, you don't get to know that. I mean, that's the point
That's
here.
fair.
I mean, Jeff has entered in 200. I think that would be glorious. I'm not sure he'd play enough to get to that number, Jeff.
I only give objective analysis of the 49ers. I don't give anything that has any fan reaction. So I'll leave that up to you. So 200 interceptions is my objective take this year.
See, that is for people that actually follow closely on Twitter what's going on over there. The David Lombardi, Grant Cohen conversations are amazing.
There's a lot of deep cuts in my references.
There are. I know. I'm just helping translate for people that aren't as in on these things as you are. That certainly would be amazing if he has 20 plus interceptions. Let's have this for real quick. So last year, Brock Purdy was coming off an injury, right? And there was all the conversations. Like, I got a lot of things wrong, but I was like, I think he might end up being the best quarterback in the NFC. And Evan was like, you're nuts. Like, what are you talking about? There's no chance. And I don't know if he was, but he was definitely in the conversation for that. And now this year, he may have to be much better in order to just sustain what he was last year, because the rest of the team around him may not be as good as it was for all the reasons we've talked about. Am I the only one on this group that thinks there's a chance that Brock Purdy could take the next step and lift that team and be a quarterback that lifts the team around him? Is there anyone else that thinks he's capable of that?
I think he can make a step forward, but I don't think he's not going to be like a top 5 carry the team type guy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Where would you rank him among NFC West quarterbacks, Brian? Like you're starting a franchise today. You can only select.
No. Don't say that because then you got to factor.
That's not the question.
You get him for the next season. You get him for the next season.
Go ahead. What were you saying, Jeff?
No, I said if you do the age thing, I think that Purdy wins pretty easily.
No, not age. I'm talking just this next year.
Stafford.
Man. I mean,
you
are not taking him before Geno. You are not.
I think it's a fair conversation. If you're talking about the same roster around them, then I take Geno. But I mean, if you're just talking about like who is going to be the best performing quarterback in the NFC West this year on the teams that they're on, I think there's a reason to believe Brock Purdy. I mean, Brock Purdy was significantly beyond Geno last year in almost every number. And as someone who is probably as bullish on Geno as anybody in this room, I also like to be somewhat within the realm of reality. I mean, Geno's got some things he's got to prove. He does. He has things he's still got to prove. Brock Purdy's proved a lot of the things that Geno has not yet.
Like what?
Winning big games consistently across seasons. No, it's real. I mean, as someone who's a huge Geno fan, he has got to beat the 49ers. He's got to beat like teams that are maybe have a talent advantage over them. And he's had some games that fall into that category, like the Detroit games, are good examples of that. But there have not, I mean, the Dallas game last year would have potentially been an example of that, but they ended up losing. That wasn't necessarily his fault, but still. So, he was first in the NFC in passing touchdowns 2 years ago. So it's not like I think it's crazy, but I do think, I think Brock Purdy is a very creative, very resourceful player. I wish he wasn't. I think that the luck he has on interceptions, he also is just like, he's one of those kind of blessed guys. He's like, he seems like things go the right way for him. So I don't know. I have to admit there's like this 10%, 5% chance in my head that he makes a big enough step forward combined with Kyle Shanahan that's a problem. I hope that's not true, but it sounds like I'm the only one, which I hope you guys are all right this time. All right, last couple. Let's talk about Byron Murphy. We had an over-under on sacks at 5.5. And this was pretty evenly split. We've got Jeff and Nathan, Dana and Trey as overs. Anyone want to talk a little bit about their takes there?
Yeah, go for it, Dana.
Oh, sure. First of all, I get the over under stuff confused all the time. I'm not a gambler, so I screw that up a lot. But I'm assuming he'll be over. That number means he'll be higher, right? I think is that correct? Okay, thanks, Derek. So here's the thing. I think that when we look at Byron Murphy and the little glimpse they gave us of him in the preseason, I'm just going to keep multiplying that, right? And he literally just broke through that line time after time after time. So I think it's going to be closer to 10. I think he might get to double digits.
All right, Dana, I know you got to go in a little bit, so I'm going to give you free reign on the rest of the predictions that you made. Any of them that you want to have a voice about before you turn into a pumpkin?
What's left? You'll have to tell me.
So I
don't have it pulled
amount of starts that Abe Lucas has. There's who's going to be an all-pro player. There's DK receiving yards over under.
So Abe Lucas, I think I would have to change that now after what we, with him going. I thought there was a chance he might be there week 1, but it doesn't sound like, obviously that's not going to happen now. And so I hope Abe Lucas makes it to double digit games. I think he will be back, especially from the stuff that you've said and I read from other people. But I do think that his numbers were greatly reduced, I think, at that point. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. And I am a big believer in, we're talking about someone's career, not a season. And so I like that they're giving him the time that he needs to do that. And then for our all-pro players, I think there is a chance that we get DK and Spoon into all-pro this year. I really, really do. I think that they're going to use DK completely differently than we've seen in the past. And I'm excited about that. Maybe he'll actually get, the credit that I think he's truly due because of his talent level that he has. And then Spoon, I think that kid is so jacked up, no one's going to be able to calm him down. Like, I think he's just so wound up that he's going to be sacking people left and right and picking the ball up. I think he's going to be the pure joy to watch this year. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dana. I know you got an early morning. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for 2 hours. Amazing. So we're going to kind of fast forward here. Not going to go through each and every one of these.
Brian, real quick.
Yes.
Byron Murphy had 8 career sacks in 3 seasons. Just want to throw that out there.
And what was the measure?
5.5.
5.5.
But he was playing nose tackle a lot.
He was. That's fair.
I went under on Byron Murphy. I did a little projection a while ago and I came to 5.3. So I went under. I think his short arms, like we saw it in the preseason against the Chargers, I think there's gonna be a lot of times he bounces off a quarterback and doesn't quite bring him down. I think he'll cause more sacks than he'll actually get himself, but it's tempting. It's definitely tempting to go over.
The under is probably the right bet.
I've looked I won't go back because it'll take too long. But yeah, I looked at a lot of the guys that have come out and the interior linemen and what they've done in terms of sack numbers. There's not a lot of them that go over 5 in their first year.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Geno Atkins, those type of guys.
If he went over, that would be an all-pro type of year, I feel like, for him to go over that type of number.
Jalen Carter had 6 last year. Kobe Turner had 9. So it's not crazy, but it would be a big deal at the defense. So I think just setting expectations about what defensive tackles do is important. What about who's going to have the most sacks between Boye Mafe and Derek Hall? This was a fun one that almost everybody had Boye Mafe. I think only myself and Jeff had Derek Hall. Jeff, why did you go Hall?
I don't know. I got this weird feeling about him. I feel like he's going to have a good year. The right answer is probably Mafe. But I think Mafe is just a much more proven sack kind of guy. We saw him do 7 games in a row last year. Derek Hall was a nothing burger, and he looked good in the preseason, but it's more been power than speed. So I think Derek Hall's probably better. I don't know. I just have this feeling about him. I kind of want to go a little off the board there. But Brian,
he looked like a menace again in that Chargers game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that translates to sacks, but His preseason was freaking awesome.
Well, and if Uchenna does miss the first week or 2 weeks, he's going to be the guy getting those snaps. And it might be, I don't think he's going to Wally Pip Uchenna, but remember when Mafe came in for Darrell Taylor and never came off last year. So I think Derek Hall may get those snaps and he may not look back, and he may take a lot of Mafe's snaps as part of what I'm thinking might end up happening, but we'll find out. Related to this, which player will lead the team in sacks? This is fun too. Trey had Byron Murphy. Evan had Nwosu. So did Dana. Derek and Josh and Nathan had Mafe. Jeff had Hall. I have Draymond Jones.
Go on.
More.
I thought about this. He's the only guy we haven't really seen. He's the guy that the coaching staff talked about more than any other player on the line in the offseason about the plan that they have for him. I think we've been talking about guys that McDonald has been able to reclaim and turn into something more than they were. A lot of us thought about Leonard Williams or Jaron Reed or whoever. I just have this thought that Draymond Jones may be the Jadeveon Clowney of this defensive line for Mike McDonald, and that his power mixed with this scheme, he may be the guy. He may be the guy that gets up there and all of a sudden goes from 5 sacks to 10 sacks. It is a wild prediction, but I kind of liked it. So I honestly wouldn't care who did it, but that would be an interesting one for sure. Only Derek said that the Seahawks will not finish with a top 15 DVOA offense and defense. Explain yourself, Derek.
Just to be clear on that, that means in both metrics, right?
Correct.
Like they have to have top 15 both. Yeah. I just think there's going to be one unit that maybe struggles a little bit. If I were to bet, I would. Yeah, I think it's the defense. I think there'll be some pains. Mike McDonald, until he got Roquan Smith, was not a top 10 defense or top 15 defense even.
And you also had for starts for Abe Lucas 0.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you still feel that way?
I need you to explain that one.
Probably not, but like this has been a really long injury. He basically missed all of last year. And now it's been 9 months since the season ended, and he's still not stepped on the practice field. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Obviously, he's back after 5 weeks or 6 weeks, but I'm not super optimistic.
What's wrong with him, Brian? Does he not have like cartilage in his knee? Do we know what's going on?
No, they have not given details about what the injury is. Obviously, it's
so weirdly mysterious.
Yeah, I mean, Derek, you're not alone. There's a lot of people I'm hearing that are kind of giving up on Abe Lucas. John Schneider today was pretty clear that that's not where he's at, and he thinks he's confident he's going to play this year, and they're making this like a long-term investment in his career. I think he's going to be okay, is my read. I don't have any medical reason to know that other than just what I'm seeing daily, watching him around. But, I absolutely could be wrong. This is one of the big wild cards. If we knew that Abe Lucas was going to be back and playing at the level at least of his rookie year, if not better, I think we'd all have different predictions in a lot of different ways. But we just don't know with what's going on right now. Other quick things I'll run through. We had a over-under for Geno Smith passer rating at 97. Everybody but Dana and Josh were over. Josh, why were you under on Geno Smith passer rating at 97?
That was more of a vibe pick. I'm not gonna lie. I just was I think I just like listened to a podcast that was negative about Geno, and it just carried over into I filled it out throughout the week, and it was just my answers were based on what I was listening to, and I think I was listening to some negative.
So
I kind of want to change that, to be honest.
To give you additional context, Josh, 93.2 passer rating last year was Justin Herbert ranked number 13. So you're saying he'd be below 13 from last year?
I think that's as hot of a take as I thought, but I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. So, and all my other stats show that the offense is going to be good. So,
yeah, you also have Charles Cross with the same PFF grade. That's why I was kind of curious, as he had last year. He had 67.6. You have him at 67.7.
Yeah,
a big step forward for Charles Cross. Does that have anything to do with it?
No, I literally, as much as I want Cross to be like really good, I feel like we've seen this story so many times. I don't want to be like negative Nancy over here, but Kenneth Walker is also giving me the same vibe of these guys who live on our team for years and we're like, oh, he's going to be so good. And then 6 years down the line, we're like, oh, he's on another team. He was just never, like, he never took the next step. And Charles Cross has just given me that vibe from the beginning. He honestly has, like, he's been great in like 4-game spits, but throughout entire seasons, he's been like average at best. And it's like either been health or instability or anything, but it just like, what are we, 3 years into this? I'm starting to lose a little hope with him, and I give him a 0.1 up because I think our team's just gonna be better. So I wanted to project that there, but other than that, I think he's gonna be pretty much the same.
Someone was gonna say something.
Entering year 3, right?
This is his 3rd year. Yeah.
Big year.
Yeah, it is a big year. For what it's worth, nobody's gone crazy here. Trey is the most optimistic on Charles Cross at the 77.8 grade. Everybody other than Josh is 70 or over. Honestly, if Charles Cross can finish the year as a 70 or over graded left tackle, I think we're all feeling pretty good. Like,
hell yes.
Doesn't need to be the best of the best, but like just be a non-deficient, part of the team.
Do you guys remember when they rolled out Bradley Sowell at left tackle?
What about Reese Odiombo?
Oh, I texted this in the chat earlier. The drunkest I've ever gotten in my entire life was the night Tom Gable got fired. I'm not kidding.
That must have been very drunk because I've seen various forms of you.
It was very bad.
All right. Other things we're wrapping up here. 3rd down conversions, percentage on offense. Where would they rank? Interesting. People are relatively optimistic. Most people had them as ranking top 15 in both offense and defense. And that's kind of wild to me because the Seahawks have been cursed on both sides of the ball on that down for a long time. Even when they were in the Super Bowl years, for the most part, they were not good on 3rd down on either side. So that was a little surprising. I think the most optimistic was Nathan had them at 8th in 3rd down on offense and 6th on defense. You want to say anything about that, Nathan?
Mostly just really leaning into the idea that like I'm going to choose to believe about this team. I do think, at least on the defensive side, the way this team is built, like I said earlier, like it could fall apart because like they're just getting absolutely gashed on play action and the linebackers are lost in coverage and stuff like that. But I think, and I know this has not been the case in the preseason, but I do think that if they can get teams to 3rd down, they should be good at getting off the field. Again, because of how I feel like McDonald can scheme this up and call plays and get after the quarterback. And so even if the defense overall is disappointing, I do think that they might be like better at 3rd down than the overall defense actually is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
A flag was thrown on 3rd down. A pass interference flag was thrown on 3rd down while Nathan was talking about that.
I have a deeper take. I think subconsciously what I've learned from this sheet is that, not even just from the sheet, from talking to you all for like 7 years. I think it's come out we've all wanted Pete Carroll gone for a long time. And I think that's part of the reason everyone's so bullish. I know some people online do not agree with me. But I think just hearing Nathan's optimism and seeing a lot of I think that's where a lot of this stems from. The 3rd down numbers, Pete's gone. Like a lot of the trends we've seen, obviously Dana's obviously not on when I'm talking about this because she probably does not agree. But I think that's where a lot of our optimism comes from, especially on the defensive side. I think after every year, we all got to the point where it was just like, the thing needs to end. And seeing the defense suck for basically 7 years and getting a guy I think we all think is pretty good, I think that's come out in the sheet. And I think that's where all this optimism comes from. So I think that's what I've learned from this whole thing.
Like Dana was saying earlier, like, she was going through this and falling back on things like, oh, we always win the, the big lights games and stuff like that. And I think it for her, she's feeling uncertain about the whole thing. And so like, she's a little bit more reserved than she normally is. But for me, it's liberating. Like, I can believe whatever I want about this team, and I'm not wrong about it yet. And so, like, we'll figure out all of his warts and all the weird stuff that they do and weird ways that they fail and weird ways that they succeed and all that. But, like, right now, it's a total blank canvas. And sure, why won't they go to the NFC Championship game?
Aren't you all just looking forward to them losing in different ways?
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe if they do lose or they do have a problem in the first half or the first quarter, feeling like there's actually a chance that they might change things up. And maybe they'll go for it on a fourth down that we're like, whoa, this is super different than what we're used to. Or maybe they'll throw a challenge flag at a time that makes sense and is not clearly, hormonal. So I don't know, man. Like, for me, none of it's really meant to be shade on Pete. But yeah, I think you're right, guys. I think that's a big part of it is just give us different. Like there's hope in different. And there's a little lack of hope in the same. So I think that's part of what you're talking about.
I will say,
I'm looking forward.
Oh, go for it, Derek.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm looking forward to learning a new injury language from Mike McDonald.
That's legit,
like,
Derek.
What? Yeah, like legit, right? We got to figure out what Mike McDonald's words are.
Yeah, they're little. They're short and sweet. I'll tell you that much. What were you gonna say, Nathan?
Well, talking about how everything is different, we had that amazing sequence, I think, in the last preseason game where like D. Eskridge totally jacked up an assignment and ran into the running back, which was immediately followed by they didn't convert on third down, spot challenge that got rejected. They came back to the line, weren't ready, even though they had the entire review to know what they were going to do, had to blow a timeout. And I was like, yes, Pete's back. It's Seahawks football.
It was a little tribute. Tribute. I like that. Yeah. So just overall, I mean, for you guys, when you read all these predictions, when you've kind of heard the talk, anything else that's kind of was a takeaway or kind of stood out to you, vibe wise or other?
I will say, I think it's very funny that you tried to be reserved when picking games, but when it came to pick points for and points against, you had a 9 point per game point differential in the Seahawks favor, which would have been like the fourth best team in the NFL last year.
You noticed
when he was picking his offensive average, he had his purple and gold Ryan Grubb glasses on.
Yep. Yes, I did. We didn't talk about that, but I did. And I don't hate the prediction. I got him at 28.7 points per game on offense, would have been a top 5 offense scoring last year. And I got him at 19.7 allowed. I went back and I looked at what Mike McDonald's effect has been on points per game. And when he went for Michigan and he took over there, and what he did when he took over Baltimore. And this would be the worst performance relative to the improvements he had in those other situations. So this technically is conservative, but yeah, this is probably a little closer to me having my cake and eating it too, Nathan. I think you're right. Anything else, guys? Things that are on your mind for this year heading in. We got 1 week till we get into prep week. Josh, I got to come back to you since we get to talk to you so little. What's your general vibe, man? What for this season, for this team? Like, how are you feeling about the Seahawks?
Nathan covered it pretty well. It's like literally, I didn't get a chance to say this, but when you said I can't wait to lose in different ways, I literally got chills when you said that about losing. Like Pete was great, obviously, but it's so refreshing to just start somewhere new and like find all the little things that we loved about Pete, but now in a whole new coach. And it's kind of perfect that Mike is almost like the exact opposite of Pete in terms of his demeanor and his attitude. And he's very like straightforward and everything. It's like a perfect change up. It's like revitalized my like love for the Seahawks. That was kind of like, I love the team, but like I wasn't like itching for the season like I am now. So it's just such a refresh, and it's beautiful.
Love it. Trey, your last words. Not ever, just on the podcast.
Yeah, I think that I remember, Evans brought this up multiple times over the offseason about the rant that you went on after that Steelers game. I was so checked out at that point in the season that I didn't have the emotional investment that you did at that point in the season. And it's kind of just echoing what Josh said. I'm just so excited. At least I think towards the beginning of the offseason, Brian or Jeff maybe said something along these effects that we have no idea what we're going to get from this team. And I think all of us share this eternal optimism about like what could happen based on our predictions, and it could all just flop. Maybe it will flop, but at least it won't just be the same thing. You know, we just have no idea what it'll be, and it will be a surprise. So I'm very excited for the season. So
Derek.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say anything else that other people haven't said. The one thing that is refreshing to hear, refreshing, disappointing, is a few of the players that have come out and talk about how serious practice is now and how intense it is. And over the last few years, maybe they lost that edge in practice. And I think it goes back to the few times last year that Pete said, well, we didn't really prepare enough, or didn't get the guys ready enough, right? I don't think there's going to be any question about that this year, and that when they get beat, they'll get beat. But I think Mike will have them coached up, so I'm excited about that.
That's a great one. Jeff, any other closing words from you?
I have no idea if the team will be good or not this year. I think it's pretty wild. We all picked them to make the playoffs when they're like win total 7.5. But I've been saying this for a while now. I can't wait to watch them. I can't wait to watch this team play. I think they nailed the coaching hire. If they have the same roster with Mike Kafka, I might pick them to win 5 games. That's just that's the margin I think their team could have gone. So that's the fun part about where it is. Like last year, Evan said so many times, it was a chore. It was painful to watch them. We all did it because we had to. We're fans. But every game, even if they're shit at the beginning, I just can't wait to watch how they are, how they grow. I think the young players over the last 3 drafts, they're in a unique spot where they just accumulated so much young talent. And a lot of it came from the Russell trade and all the other draft picks they've hit. But for a team that's supposed to be mid, and they have a very interesting team. So I just can't, with the coaches and the players they have, from our perspective, as long as our expectations aren't crazy, I just think we're in a really, really good spot. It's going to be really fun to watch them every week. And I can't imagine it gets like last year, unless like there's severe injuries where it's a chore. So week 1, I just can't wait to watch them. The preseason was just so much fun. And I haven't said that. I can't remember. It's been awful watching most preseason games.
It has been fun. I agree. Evan, your final words, and then Nathan, I'm going to let you have the last word here after Evan.
Yeah. The phrase I keep coming back to is there's real hope in the unknown. And what I think have experienced with Pete over the last several years is the known. We kind of knew what we feel. We had like a reasonable degree of certainty in terms of what our ceiling was and what it could be. But, there's magic in the air. There's excitement. There's genuine curiosity in this football team, and to see how this ship is going to sail. I'm just like so excited, guys, to be in Lumen week 1.
Yeah.
Like it is going to be crazy. We talk about that stadium and how it's kind of, we feel like the environment has maybe gotten a little softer over the past decade, just quieter. I think we're in for a turning point here. I really do.
That's such a great point. That Denver game 2 years ago, Gino's first start and Russell's return, easily the loudest, most electric game I've been at in Seattle since like LOB kind of. It was so, and I don't know if it's gonna be that level, but it's gonna be pretty dynamic that first week. Nathan, close us out.
I've allowed myself to get excited about Kenneth Walker.
What?
That is the amount of just like energy and hype and hope and like anything is possible, like levels of just, I don't know, excitement that I have, that I will even entertain the idea that we're getting like a 2,000-yard season out of Kenneth Walker, and that will meaningfully affect the results of this team. So
what'd you just say?
I didn't say I'm predicting that. I'm just saying it's fun to think about.
Nathan's getting excited about running backs. Things are getting
Nathan,
wild.
did you say a running back will meaningfully impact?
That is how excited I am that it's overflowing into my running backs matter bucket. And
clip that.
Yeah.
Someone clip that.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah.
You know what's never happened? That
Hmm.
all of us are excited about the team at the same time. Like, we didn't do this during the LOB era.
We've
Like,
just been nonstop bitching for like 7 years.
we've basically
about the
chronicled
same stuff for years.
It's true, and people still keep coming back. But we've basically chronicled the like demise of Pete Carroll. Like, has been what this show has been, and I think there's this belief that maybe how fun would it be if we get to chronicle the rise? Like, that would be a lot of fun. Let's dare to dream. All right, folks. I tried my best. I tried my best. 2 hours and 30 minutes last year, 2 hours and 20 minutes this year. I cut off 10 minutes. I got to do better. I got to figure it out. But it was fun having everybody on. I thank you all. This is really amazing. Everybody's super busy. To spend a couple hours, 2.5 hours out of your day to just give back to the Seahawks community is really impressive. And so thank you to Josh Cashman. Thank you to Derek, Gabby, Jeff Simmons, Evan Hill, Trayton Howell, Nathan Ernst, and Dana O'Gorman. We will see you all tomorrow for Hawkblogger Mornings. Dave Bowling of formerly the Tacoma News Tribune is going to be my guest. And I've got some good announcements as well. I've got some exciting stuff that I've just locked in tonight that will be part of the season 2, not just 1, but 2 great guests that will be with us every single week, hopefully starting next week. So see you all tomorrow. Thanks again. And as always, make sure you like and click subscribe. We'll see you all soon.